Well, we have a mom. Good evening. Yeah, Baba Jasu Jumedi. So we're live on OK 101.7 FM. So any partner radio station you're live also me got you FM okukren to me any you're live High Life Radio America Bluch Memo Virginia. You're live Kings Jersey Radio New Jersey you're live Wadafapa Media or France and Belgium. You're live also Naspa Radio Kuku Spencer and any team so UK London Abonte so almost live in online so YouTube on Vim Lady Online. Vim Lady Online. Or production team is headed by Mr. Kojo Hans in the DOP Edibediakon. Yedomina so my boy Madibi Ediba because levy officially no parliament a proceedings no processes na also move from no mu free but levy na ye free on ye but I was see a pescan wo baby di be shem. Your gold any your oil no I canning in album cast extractive industry no a was here me nico now no can once you Dr. Sako de will go back there again especially say on the GoldBod abano so GoldBod no we will have to look at it and no solution now in any case what's the difference between GoldBod and Agyapa because from Dr. Do for timer or boy ya my royalties law no the percentage ni free 3% they call 5% no they be a Ghana for we've always known say abrofo mu to gold e Ghana no mu sisi for that matter abrofo companies so mu to oil ni nyina susu sisi so we must make sure say yesi can do no abeka Ghana again we will look at Dumsor because Dumsor is coming back now airport a whole airport Dumsor e jaya to edumi ahye edwadifo ne ma dwere bayi edwadifo ne say e Dumsor and a coffee by or monesi or moneti or mujahan e wo jom ho and almost say a year and no and I coffee back to the extent and interior minister koma or money ma minima edwadifo na muni muntaka wasem asama tomo na ye muntaka abaso beboa mo amosemo engineer man ombo afu I think I heard they were a little bit unfair to honorable muntaka because ono the otini baby or minister he bidia maybe anywhere shane chenchene o meboa. And he say Dumsor, we must get to the bottom of it. Nana no said there will be a question container, our fire hydrant. So yeah, Ghana for us, but we never want to admit that yeah, can no mining ye. The BI a person the Kogi and penny phone so. Ain't here the phone I'm walking so munya bo check akra. So honorable muntaka so beboamo munya bo check nemum. The major issue is I'm passing a Dumsor and a coffee janibaya because pressure no bet to me the Agyapa because say you do kania near so yes so kania no sa cover pressure e the vim and e the ba and I no can spark fire. This one I'll play you a video the phone one mu kase e dum so na cover edum e jana to ojom ho no the buy so we'll look at that one too and then we'll also look at say aya kofo bebre report say edum mo kania the same question you kobusa yera napo we are going to ask government again. So Dumsor or a timetable. Dumsor ni wants to say I bet my bet a year near chum. You live near chum. Say Dumsor near Passia Sovia. Where are we going to get the money? Because Ghana problem with the Dumsor and yes, any generation capacity. Mostly is because any sika gas, Nigeria gas, you're the Nigeria foka. You're the Nigeria foka. Make us say you're the Nigeria foka and gas. You're the Nigeria foka. Enti ampa say the AE levy everywhere. We will need alternative sources of revenue. And some here to me deal with the Dumsor. Yes, sir. Dumsor na fe de be west. And it's sad to say near the Dumsor near politics. This is not a political matter. It shouldn't be a political matter. What I say, Dumsor should not be a political matter, but it must be solved. You better solve it so a discan you better solve it Dumsor no. Sika nso so na yetra levy mu no yetra betting tax nti ye kofa na we we must all be ready to tighten our belts and pay more here and there for taxes and yes sir ye betimi afaya Mahama for all we want on to me solve Dumsor no we must be ready to pay and officially Dumsor is back but it is solvable. Dumsor is back there, but you bet me Agyapa na ye. Enti you better say whether GoldBod na ban ye and say obi entumi fa gold bi anko ama no ne nkoton. So that aban na bet me ahu sika dodo a onya e wo gold nim. any other. But is that really the solution? Because really, no. Yeah, well, free market economy. That's what we are operating. And it's only panwa company sikano anwa di kotuni oil. That's onwa kotonwa. Can you really stop the person? But then also Bisubaka say yes, because cocoa, yeah. Say cocoa, abayankas obien to me sorry kotoni cocoa. It is heavily regulated because Abayan himself is of national interest. And the GoldBod, I think the government wants to do the same thing cocoa with the GoldBod. But again, no Dr. Sako de Kaye. So I see a tree abon near near maybe because one share industry near cocoa, yeah, this are mines and a good basine. From President Gufani Professor Mills time, you trade 1 million tons. And before by him say 2017, 2018, you trade 1 million tons. Since then, you are falling even below 500,000 metric tons. And necessarily say Abayan will be BMO ye. Abayan woman Abayan committed. Abayan scrutinize it. Abayan fa adwin pa anya. Usually Abayan cost sector anymore kopedi obejedi. And that is a classic first area affect cocoa industry no. Cocoa industry na Abayan chain no kopet syndicated loan na no the cocoa akosi awa no aje. Esi bui down no aje. We no aje. It's the same thing, no cocoa gold, no so now you scrutinizing rules near. That's why Dr. Sako they are very passionate about this issue. Say Ghana, you bet me and my Ghana education are free. So free SHS idea ya dani asem. Say your gold near shasu ye. You see, and that is why I not to say from Agyapa to GoldBod, the big Ghana near the politics, and it shouldn't be politics. It should never be politicized. Agyapa in Kenya bad sir. Me, the issue I had with Agyapa, it was the selection of the board. I say for real, thank of one and pick and choose a group of people be no more. But the idea of Agyapa, Dr. Dufo, NDC, no starting you. Or no, the agenda by see a big deal go this can and Kuana Asano. You for gold in Ibn Koto Company, a woman on it, near register or stock exchange, near woman. Ni enya faswa Ghana for penny for the politicians and for Monsankoka. Ni ebe to me the BSC factories are boys and girls benye biayo. The idea is not a bad idea. Nemo selection say the way the back to board, see the way the back to me say me kro mo aye to go do boase adanse any amansie na amansie ni bi ani so oboase adanse ni bi ani Agyapa so. I rejected Agyapa. But really what a Japanese GoldBod yeah, there's no difference. SSC scrutinizing here. And yes, I gold not done a year or biabo peso dibi. Or biabo peso dibi. And especially the CIA scrappy e-levy, because e-levy originally was supposed to give Ghana about 6 billion. And it's and then 6 billion in your yes, when you ask what project I can see a good President Mahama so mayeno or this cannot be free or the bay. Cannot be free or the bay. And now the alternative is GoldBod. And I make us a horse you scrutinize it. Because MPP for na be Japan aye dede aye nyina ye did this me see omo be frey a meeting bi wo Pediase Lodge omo ni so metimi etimi ye do one man ye ka je masa gold you can't play with gold. So mama ye who the selection of the people on the board and the criteria so at e one ye cry ko hu says a friend say legal consortium omo hwe so na e gabi consulting firm we rejected it. Because God that there should not be something that also be any personal interest be a home. It is a national asset, and we must protect it. It is the same way as I buy so a GoldBod. It's the GoldBod the Dr. Sakodia Kache and Ano say Oko Botswana. Omu ni gold to second or more a diamond or mutu. But they have managed their system so well, say. Omu diamond no, omu nya musika because a 50-50 or 60-40. Omo to me nya musika ma free education bi wo Botswana. Nti ade na Ghana ye ntumi nye. But abroni beye ni won chendi nti. Obi aba opani interest the be party boys am omadi the omo beba but we must move away from that. We must meet in a GoldBod where we must scrutinize it. We must not leave it to party ni bia. God na Ghana as a party bi anya ndisi dia anya pipi dia. We must not leave it to any political party or see a shaso. Say prosperity. Ya nana no more beba dachi nyina benya ho faso. Enya sa lawu. And that's why Dr. Sako every day he's very passionate say, "Eya den na brofo companies ya omo ye extractive industry, gold, ni oil. And you see, me yama youth, Ghana, how much you near me here, no youth to for imagining Koso. Or mama, there's a politics who you go the way at them near there. I mean, sad because a brofu companies or we juma in gold, any oil, no. And for one kwa almost sheer free Ghana, the Kobu Kromo abrochre. Over the last 10 years, $48 billion. $48 billion. Okay, see factories, 16 regions in Nankobia factory. But a brofundi in Nako. And no, I was a youth to know the imagine cost on the debit. Young Cobun Crawford, young Cody the atom, young Koyese, young Koyese. You see, and Ramen, CJ Asemia. President is saying for the petition I bring into a forward petition now command penny for Chief Justice say you remove Ali. Me do go to Facebook me say and me Democrat madam me dream me ho. Me ko hwe e chese atem didi enko 1.4 and I'm saying asem obre o. Yeah boy abre wi a social security client touch here. Yeah adwene ye ho aye ye wo de ebedie no. Wo secures mu didi atem. Na nya wona wo say odwene wo life ho. You the didi atem a aso otweata so. Ampucheche ya me hu kra anope na enwumre na me hu 1.4 na wo data na wo use no say wo say no data na nka betimi dey adwuma no 1.4 insult na say wo ha ho me na say adwuma kra ma ya che na say nka atem didi affect the person kadada nka edi enti moma focus on the issues of national development because there's no amount of insult and they change the fact that abrofu companies almost CCM, but almost CCM because the penny for no have refused or failed to change all these contracts. $48 billion. Look, let that sink in. There be our before phone or bear watching some no. Let that sink in. $48 billion and abrofu companies in Yenya or the quabruche. A profit and on yes production cost can hold. Profit after tax. Oma titi omusika oma say omudi aye gold the many in ewie no fa so nko a abrofu companies bi call abrochire eye $48 billion. Issue we na we say here yen aden and say say nananom gya gold oil was asase na abrofu nya ho fa so more than Ghana for na ene boys ya batumi call Robbie Momo vendor near kunu because e come de no and to say $48 billion yen mu 10% kwa kesi factory and konkokum Momo vendor. Enter on your Juma ya on metna social media near them because you are busy working. You are busy working. You are busy working. Mama you should be here because of mine and you see and now you are brand here. Oh shada and ko what you nyini akowanim. Nyini akowanim ti and now the 20 in the next 10 years, where the 30, and the next 10 years, where the 40, you are going forward and you must sit down and start planning your life. To say, yeah, now, say, yeah, now, baby, the atamwana 20 years or so. What are you leaving for, Oma? What can you do? Can you be part of the system? Yet, nothing focus on national issues. You to go design, you to oil, sir, you nyamu faswa. Aben biaba near the politics. Yeah, galamsey by stop galamsey now. And this year by see a stop galamsey now. No. But we must focus. Kakra said, well, my penny 120 days in council here. Kakra said the minister at 30 blue water team. They will start working. So therefore, only become only other people become one. These are the national issues. What are the national issues? Because it's on my set the BI 10 years ago, abrofu companies in $48 billion. So in 20 years, multiply this $48 billion by 2. You see, but why a busy do be at them? And so the politician or no sign contract way no on the atem. We must focus. President Mahama who target first 120 days. Or no man who target Niama obey so far is on course. He has not surprised anybody. So far is on course. Come here, say money at the cases from the cocoa. If you look at President Mahama 120 days a year, isn't it? Or say aura, obey aura. Now Crawford, or be our for money, they'll scrutinize it. Now, no, Dr. Ini Subekache say if there is a prima facie case, they will go to court. But if there's no case, they won't go to court. It's not matter, because it's true, say the law say a person is not guilty until proven guilty in the court of competent jurisdiction. And even in criminal cases, you must prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And now the better to be a guilty or not. But at least the fact say allegation yeah, let's go to court. Let's go to court. Let's go to court and find out whether there's facts be womu into 120 days no yebehwe enti airport today almost Dumsor we look at the ampase Dumsor and it was he said an apoka Dumsor. It was a one-time thing. We look at it. We look at it. Dumsor ema edum ejano ebayana. And then more importantly, the any dog can. It's also about say yebehwe your gold nisikano GoldBod ni issue. Is that the solution? What's the difference between Anoni and Agyapa? Into your gold no do not send a back brooch, you do not send a better Ghana. How are we making maximum profit from your gold? And yes, I allow politicians to be able to you know for Obiabe did peche, no minus obre. Obiabe did peche, so no minus obre. So what I say, huh? Missy, or say I don't make us a Mahama is on course, and now the media is part of the problem. Why is the media part of the problem? 120 days, Mahama, 120 days no concern yet. And you cannot rush Mahama. At least more in China first 100 days. No, normally, baby, a question of democracy in free. You know, they do first 100 days on one man who 120 days. Let's look at some of those things. So first 100 days. How and then your media never access you be amount. So when you people say the media is part of the problem, the media is not supposed to think for you. One can say you are supposed to use your brain to think. Your media never get amount. Media nature say these are the issues. One can say amount. So what I say. The media doesn't control e-levy. The media doesn't control any budget. The media doesn't do foco. One kasabusa who say, how are you thinking? The man fan go say media nibia. Man fan go say EFS media nibia. It's young issues then Dr. Sako den kasa. Because now no cancer me yam shame say 48 billion. Hey, and abro free. Now your politicians who are Ghana hanma ye chiomu ex-gratia who are supposed to stop this bleeding. Because I have $48 billion. You would the sika and Crawford Casa ways and means or movie akodi. As gracia ye chia. Any other things and just a gun and I just said I go. Just a gun and we have nobody speaking for us. Because 48 billion. I just see this yo. But your moon says yo. And you see this as I'm make $48 billion and a brofono or munya modeko. The every day they are Ghana flights now back. You can see Ghana for just a bro for a good plane. Everybody is coming to Ghana. Obey you be too good. Obey too good. Because it's a country. Yeah, my extractive industry lost. I have four. Brony biaba no kutesika. Obeba be two. What ya obeba be two? No the cop. Nti amani ama I have four. It's just sad. It's your issues. No, so any doctor Tako de mama. Good evening. Akwa baba jasu jumedi so.
Hey, good evening, Steph. Yeah, Bushafo so.
Bushafo so jo so pa. Yeah, share your friends issues now. Can in fact, Dano, me bo video no kana me yamash me say 48. Say it's so confirmed. So $48 billion.
43 in 8 years. 43 in 8 years.
8 years, and 10 years in book.
Which was between 2011 and 2018. They say, I would say, and 8 years from 2018 to 2025, 7 years. And it's a sign year, a double. Let's say a double, which is a 43 times 2. Then the number 86. And she said, I am more than double.
Wow. Yeah, well, someone papa. But then it's now there's a conversation about GoldBod. I'm sorry.
And let me say, our profits now work on Ghana chef will move 10%. So no matter the amount, your chef will be 10%.
That's $43 billion in Ghana was just 10%.
And then telling you now, Rafundico.
Dano made it 2 phase will not be busy. Why necessarily sign these contracts and how can we change them?
Well, okay, so it's a good question. And I'm free baby Ghana, Yamia Shire pa nyame shira ye man wouldn't me say even ye gold ni ye cocoa no cry any ye oil na ye to no there's something called premium market premium just say yeah the quality no a chain I'm on an for there other countries there and contracts no me tie experts now more 3 types of contracts. The first best contract the service contract. Service contract ni say me na me Ghana me o gold. Sister if you are na American company Vim Lady company. Brabetu me gold no. Ubetu me gold na maybe say obo ka say na the 2 year. Oh, we say me boka $1 billion. Message so me $1 billion neko okrom. Gold no what to na media. And the best contract, your friend is service contract. And on Norway, China, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Amaya Kesia, we are seeing no BIA. The best contract, the service contract. Me wa Ghana, me wa gold. Vim Lady Company, Brabetu gold no. Obo Kasai, 1 billion. So me $1 billion na ko group. Gold ni na what ni na media. Dem ni baye dem fa. Number 2, the second best type of contract, your friend participation contract.
Okay.
And on a crass, and I don't know Yasa chain bebre, and a crass no more than a bununia busano. Or an assassin, own to mean yerfo, Brabe yerfo, no, we are no becher bruno. And to yes, see our assassin, we are good. Brabe to your good, no. Yes, the carrier the cacrabishim. By we are good, you betcha the pepe. And then I'll come Botswana, say Botswana government company. Say diamond na Botswana. First of all, Botswana diamond no mutu na ne value. Any Ghana, your natural resource ni na value no. Say here there 100, Botswana there 60.
Yes, I'm on to Ghana crying the quality your gold near oil like
a good year ne value. A good year nyame dia chair no. Gold ne manganese ne iron or ne oil ne you ye can na abuma. Say Ghana there 100 ya. Botswana there is 60. Let's say your whole name bro Botswana so 40. And so here the omudia yo mu man na head the that's what because Botswana government no about 15 companies and the government in there. 15 companies are too good no ni na government ya. Until oka good good diamond oka diamond ni na boma. So private company A2, government company A2, and a private company A2, so the government share a woman.
Okay.
And you can now my friend participation now. Botswana deal 55 more than half. And that will be able to Botswana be say 100 there, and 55 a buying there. 45 a private company. And it's only the 55 for no or cotton a diamond, the other buyer there. I don't know the second best type of contract. Nigeria so yes sir. I remember the Osha omo ye be Botswana, Nigeria, South Africa, Libya. Omo na ebo omo modern. Na ya na eguasie Ghana, Congo, Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone. Ya eguasie na ye concessionary contract no. And he say me will good. Brabetu ubetu a menka ahwefade nyina akọ na emom brabetu ya tax brabetu ya royalties enti first contract your friend service contract the ownership no ya buying their gold no ya buying their second type of contract no ownership no match either 50-50 or 60-40 the last contract no ownership no ye dey umbe 15 na me year calculations is here 14%.
Into gold I tuni oil a tuni in Ghana chefe wo me just 14%.
Where your oil okay different. Gold no be the same. Gold no be the similar. Into oil according to 2025 budget. Oil now able to know this year 2025 for no. Ghana chefe wo me 14%. And we just carried and participation interest. We are no omabetia tax, omabetia royalties. But oil no there, omo there. Omo 86% na woman your omo there.
It's problem. Question now, baby person musa. I don't need to miss some. Why? Because and answer no near fan GoldBod. Whether GoldBod I buy hint here no. Whether that is the solution or not. Because two examples here, I mean, take GoldBod the NB.
Yes.
Why can't we change these laws? Na either participation the NB ebunu ebusano and our service contract ni bi ni enyam faso ni esika nan tena Ghana ha.
Yeah, so yemfa in common some actually.
Okay.
In the 60s, and IMF, World Bank, these Bretton Woods institutions, omuma ideology be ideology ni say be mine any developing countries ya mine no munisika no. E mo mfa musika nko share a good yem because risk ni high. Said it's all about capital. Say penny be no GMP 17 din come on. Say to open oil dig boom, $60 million the cost.
Yeah.
The cost of drill one
hole, no. Yeah.
$60 million. Unyo when the wabokegu. And tisa no onomli share you say too risky. Inti ma buy bia mfanisi kan kushim. Ana ye kan ye insurance yate. From the 60s yo ebesi sabri. And ye hansa na buy new store so the home because the risk is too high. And the contrast there signing no you concession. Concession is say too risky to your physical question. And the private person, a vim lady company, no war banner. Fauci can be should be the end contributive. And to do see Kashima, who we are for good no court, name but you tax and royalties. And the idea and Sasha them from Yatna from those times, Abesi Sabri. Oil also the same thing. You discover oil, you home prayer, and our politics also come home. Prepare your sky election until you long-term plan. Be a now be a politician, be a home preno. Say any money muya or penny D and son be a election no cry, we will lose what did the and the contract yes inside no many may madam for lawyer be a dinko. Cotamana IFS, yes, our research. Many madam for lawyer be the uncle, say contracts need be over. So we make attempt so we change bibia woman judgment that ya obetua no e be de kwache sikana ubenya free contract
you just say change contract we ya no ku Saudi Arabia for the enye ye ye bebo ka
enye
wow
ye dey actually ye ho awie
but what is the duration of this contract because at a point you know as I see you doing your home and I make say boys here titi social media dey atemefa come any bre. By your factories near there or be here, you must have the factory. I say, oh, your time now, I be so phone. What's the message they do? Be at them. So, can't we even change it?
No, we can't. The only change, the only hope they say new ones, no. Say, yeah, good area be. You see, I discover good. Maybe Krobi so good or now by no I say, okay, good new one I discover idea. But the music is shame kakra. Now my increasing my share not to say 40% or 50%. I know the bit me the new ones the bit me but old ones in there, madam for say difficult to change because the clause in it, you know, judgment that habitual very high. And the whole thing is about abandon so didn't who shame. Oh, yes, true. Abrafunu who I say, oh, who baboka. As all year, you might go to because we the auto ababoka. Then the pacoda be on person about person on one in Yas Alpha son, say, who on the shame. And I try one thing, and it was to say, he only free. Not new ones, none of that about me and Casa was say a good year was as and I say, young and ye, it's valued at $10 trillion.
Wow, 10 trillion.
$10 trillion. And you cry way as all the white uniform one can know.
Estimate, rough estimate.
Way a rough estimate. US GDP about 28 trillion. Until there's a close to half of US GDP. Ghana, it me tapwe only say Congo there 33.
Wow.
Ghana issue 10 trillion. DR Congo. Omo resources once I say omo nyan 2 years. About 33 trillion.
Omo bro yeso kra.
3 times. Omo yeso 3 times. And say omo ka no problem so che. And $10 trillion na akana was as. And not like bia. Yes, bia no na was ye hwe say your new oil, your new gold discovery, your new lithium discovery, your new iron ore discovery, your new manganese, new bauxite discoveries, and no na you bet my home baby.
Yeah, but some prof, so can it idea a box idea, any who contract your sign here, the koji a interchange fee. Not just still yen sound.
Yes,
Because Etiana Abudina Bomuko signing lithium, dear.
Lithium, yeah,
you know, about MC or 19, meboa.
Yeah, about close to 20%.
Yes, internet is still I am sure and answer
no, yes, 8 na abrofone dia. Yensua hentio, nti say they say you move from 14 to 20. And they free 14 to 20. Participation.
Prof, mona monim penifo no bi kasa mo bia mo ye consultancy. Pen o mo peso mo ya na said dem because ade we why can't we do any ye see any sika. Ye ni sika nti ne fa ye de taxes to say 11 ye de amani hunu be. Any betting tax ni ade ba but de wo gold wo oil. Ye fa ho hyem na nya sika dodo no ana emra wo ho. Na fa bi si factories my boys ni gas ni binye. Why can't we do it? The entity and I am koji bibi we chira na sesen.
No, any undocumented a invisible hands. Invisible hands or baby. No dear. And it's possible. Say bia penina wo di wanim no. Akosan when you share free. Until more or minor the mbu kura and father home. So it's possible. Now, I don't know you can't verify because I invisible hands. A be assume baby no muko share no more ye uni particular dream. Say the entity of science and crater. Why didn't share? But where is the evidence what you share? Until you allegations is here because they could prove. Aye. They actually want to one work you come out. Now, me who say on the surface, economically speaking, I say a huna is share must say be work. You need long-term plan. And I make us a politics and the economics name. There be a professor back who say when the political shape is right, the economic shape will be right. And the politicians no mudi anymore. Yeah, me economist, me lecturer, me researcher. I can only recommend. I cannot implement.
Sir,
and come on, didn't FDSU na say yeah, but the rama na ya twina adwene so. Na man so kase obu nua gu na sum. Ye kama ye free mojakra onya. Until we can only recommend, we cannot implement. Until politicians so onsu ni adaje. In fear 9 since you now cast President Mahama 100 years ebe evaluate no. Until no so pentem. Omo bako ina President Kufuor, the President Rollins, President Mills, President Kufuor omo nyina pentem. Until say was see long term plan eto was say. And not a cofa o can see Agyapa.
Exactly.
Dr. Dufomo etnas and NDC budget no shema almost say Ghana good year and media mine contract in ye. Into yen system, Yabenia system, Yenska. Into yen should minerals income investment fund. Na a good year no.
Dr. Dufomo this idea and buy.
Yes, President Mills more time. Into yen pesika kakran shim. We are near special purpose vehicle. As a special purpose vehicle, SPV, no, every company, independent company on this board of directors near the because me, no, intimate enco raise bonds. But special purpose vehicle, no bet me stock market near quiet. Into future, I don't know, election 2016. 2016. And President Kufuor the more taking over, say, okay, there was something. Idea be the long-term objective is say pesika share a good year na to na ye better ni sika. It is a special purpose vehicle no. Enco raise bond, onco equity market, bond market, stock market, nonco pesika mra. Yen find share a good year nim.
Na kaya yen tuya de.
Na yen tu kra yen ko talk company ni be share.
Yes, okay. Not just set our profit yes yen yemu bi.
Ni enyam. And I Japan, almost say, for Monday, about for Bogu, but the idea behind it was solid because this for kind of start here, say, long term plan, say, Ghana, a good year, you know, you young for so, you buy you with 10% pay. You chim 100 idea 10 for so. na o se nya fa so bebre na o se episika sika ye kofa we ye mu ye tax kran so ye nti ye kofa we ene ye mfa agudie no se fa so na ye nya no kakra na ye nya no ye mfa nko ye investment na ye fa set up company company no be call edwa so akope bond aba se ayi amanfo me pesika akọ Ghana me ko too good me too good na me nya fa so na me ma mu bi eye dividends no so wo to shares but my dividend raise bonds so a ebetua oka it is a long-term objective. No? That's what we must pursue.
Dr. Dufo, that was a brilliant idea, pan or the buyer.
That's what we must pursue, yes. And no never boy, I'm a pesika, abeshim aye abunu ni abusano. On to say a bear sano, concession contract in Kwan ye baye. Am I 10% professor, yent me inquire him. And ubisa say a better than son your ma. First, contract now, old ones, the yent Mrs. Sano. Until new ones, no, and a bit my home be. Second, new ones, no. I was say abandon this shame because I capital. Now abandon professor way. And only a call creative myth as myth and creative special purpose vehicle. No go pesika. Na on family abandon fashion. I think said and said so me to say GMPC. Omo so edisika share.
Yes.
Good idea. And also among folk raise issues of I said the devil is always in the details. And I when the dear new and sika be fine and yeah, say idea one bro because an idea not the a good idea, but implementation and so that I guess a watchibidi now until the going forward I said Ghana yes a good year no for so na it's a cry now you bet me for so be brave from and ye NDC-NPP ye bako na yem pick that special purpose vehicle na anka MPP for set up as a Agyapa mo boagua so mo lose election President Mahama win election on fa on so idea mra na yen criticize special purpose vehicle no
and no na do kan person busa say perhaps and no na ye GoldBod na is it and no na NDC change the na ye GoldBod na is that the solution I betimi aboya na
there be anyone yen the GoldBod no say or formalize the small scale mining. Your first objective.
Okay.
Second objective, we say, obey COCOBOD said all kind in your introduction. I said, Owakoto good, every small scale miners, not big companies, no. New Mountain, the uncle Tom from New Mountain, then small scale for no. But you say, I have to verify this data, but I think say good or two about 30 to 40% every small scale miners work.
I know it's true.
I know that GoldBod or not say, okay. And your quacoto, or else a COCOBOD said the COCOBOD took cocoa free cocoa farmers, you know. So now GoldBod so I could took good every small scale miners, no two cities. Now ye keep it good now build your reserves near cotton be $dollars. I'm a currency in the edge. I'm a DBI development. And to share GoldBod now is more of a short-term measure, short to medium-term measure. But long-term measure now, I bet my year this share a good year no two no dear in this budget in
okay. And GoldBod will not give us solution now. Now Dr. Dufo special purpose vehicle don't care no.
No, not for this one. Not for this one. A year later, say GoldBod so who say oh what in team when you emphasis no bet me the says can be acquire another special purpose vehicle. No, ye Ghana ye tiba ko too good no another ye shares of a company. A year later, idea no baba. Fair enough. Okay. But I must say, I must say, because GoldBod documents, I mean, reading in there, me go so American.
Okay.
And he said, yeah, I shall be a minimum. Fine. But baby, my can could do no dear. Sir, and it's what long term measure, and mean, a woman, I mean, can they are fine. But in the initial, you know, dear, I said, all to good, every small scale miners or no building reserves. And it's a normal currency can be a development. But long-term vision say, this guy share a good unit to know dear.
Is it something I will be advising NDC in fact Dr. Dufo, you know, and now Agyapa now on said concerns and for raising a board no near there. I was one of the people raised it. Because go the idea who here Ghana pan. And it's here but two companies say Japan will be cotton board. So I want to know. Nipano offer or your stakeholder now, you see from a gold producing area. Now quiet say the so born on the ball can over at and comfort quiet say or safma for but I know the questions be back because or safma for bano or your investment bank about free gold area. So what is the justification that those concerns no obe advice say NDC so mo fa Agyapa na mo fa yan correct mistakes and wo hu nyina na mo nsan fa nkọ na yenye sika betim de ahye gold ni ma amrante ne maba we betim yenye ho adwuma aye.
Very good question. And then you have nation building. And then amai madi ye ni nyina sa no mo ye. Se bia Democrats e wa idea bia Republicans bit makofa no masesan kakra. Republicans wa idea Democrats bit makofa no masesan kakra. Na a long-term plan for the country. And you say Agyapa na e ho no. There are good things in it. There are good ideas in it. Yenko yi bin free. The amount for civil society organizations in the media mo nyina mo bo abana chi se enye no. Mum fa ngu fam. The enye nyina mo mungu. Na de ye wo mu no munyimpie. Na mo mfa bibi kakra tare ho. Na sa vision no de eye eno na be boa ye daache. Nti sa vision no yen carry na along. Se president Mahama kra ntimi anwie kra onye na fa mu de. Bia 2028 whoever will win the election no so abeto aso. In the next 15 to 20 years na Ghana ye mfaso a yenya free gold no na apegem ko be 50 or 60%. Because 10% there anyway 10% of profit there anyway the gold so there empro and we are number 1 producer of gold the whole of Africa, the whole world we are number 6. Last year unconfirmed report, last year gold 2 year $11.6 billion.
But last year
2024, yes, $11.6 billion. This is an unconfirmed report. This Friday, Bank of Ghana, omo MPs in Asia, omo share you be the actual figure, but we are unconfirmed figure until we confirm 24 on Friday. So the crescent gold export, ejina $11.6 billion. Now, and no, they are confirmed from 2023. It was
11.6 billion.
6.5 billion.
What say?
2023, it was $6.5 billion. I know the
we more than doubled gold. Gold is Ghana more than double.
No way exports. Yeah, cotton or obi
okay.
Yeah, they call obi so. Say gold new to the volume times the price and the amount of value. And it's 11.6 no. The value of gold a free Ghana echo amanoni. Both small scale and large scale. We are now okay, so 11.6 no Ghana deal me say a honor and common war.
And no answer now me buta no ha.
Who you saw oil participation interest now 14% now. Me sure say ye chef abro 2 billion. Me sure say 2 billion out of the 11 no.
Hey. Oh, Ghana.
Because royalties now ye free minerals no are gold edikaya. When we said the value of the royalties is as big as the COVID-19 levy. Royalties now you free, you free, you go. It's as big as COVID-19 levy. And you nya mfaso bebre and free home. And we will come 11 billion, you the only new 2 cra.
But do you have the figure for 2023, Anna?
Yes, 6.5 billion.
In 2023, Ghana 6.5 billion.
No, Ghana about 1. Yeah, export. Ghana
export gold that you cotton 6.5 billion.
Yeah, and Ghana do me about 1.5, 1.4, 1.5.
And at 2025, you have $11.6 billion. 2024.
Yeah, unconfirmed.
And Ghana you more coins.
Bear 2 billion. Away unconfirmed report. I'm say Friday, Bank of Ghana bear confirming the actual report.
Yeah, but dog, they say never there and tongue and any go baby because it's just
and that's all.
No way a national crisis, dog. Maybe for say we know. Because of mind they are treating as a national crisis. Near the NNC form say you prioritize your gold. Any areas I bet me any sikaman for so bad chance say. That's think I hear to say my bet near the end. When the baby and girls here the
yes, waiting baby. Me say ubisa me say Dr. Sako the economist. And he na Ghana binya sika. Ama or minor D make us say a extractive sector, natural resource. because your tax and getting and swing baby. Na tax him mu da bia ye dibro ye revenue yenya ne akobo ho bosia. Enti enso ye be say ye pesika pa transforming this country. I build first class schools, first class hospitals, first class roads, first class public transport system, bus, train, airport. Baby ye benye sika free there no any extractive sector. Ehwa say yetimi ma ye homne so ye participation no. Yetimi yet say Botswana, Ghana every year we will add $4.5 billion. Our investigation revealed that say my participation interest cost to say Botswana 55% share. We will add $4.5 billion extra income to the government, to our economy. 4.5, what the calculation? 4.5 billion times exchange rating is 16. Until 4.5 times 16. 72 billion cities.
You bet me your factories. I you crowd list. You bet me your central region near Accra. You bet your factories be 3 and a half.
72 billion Ghana cedis. Your revenue last year was 186. Total revenue 186. Good unkwa I extractive sector unkwa bit mama 72. Not the akane the ratio. Enti say Ghana your plan is say me who document be say Ghana your plan is say by 2057. By the time Ghana be 100 years, not Ghana a first class country. Now baby in the media, I cut it to 2 years. This is if you in the media, me sure because Ghana to me say America and I say Japan by in the next 32 years by 2057. NASA taxing getting there no baby because a minor idea near to Muso, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Norway, China, Ukraine. Ombedi yeni na eyomo natural resource. Amani na train akesi omo build ye, airport akesi omo sisi, schools akesi omo sisi, asopiti akesi omo sisi na eyomo natural resource. Russia, they no more gas, any natural resource. Norway, natural resource. Saudi Arabia, natural resource. Even in Libya, natural resource. Enti natural resource no de ehwa ni ebinyesika. Nti yemma yeni yemfa long term plan into ho na yesisa contract ne mwaye sa contract na omofa gold ni na ko no matua royalties any taxes na mwaye they say gold price kwa na ekosoro gold price na gold nso mpro obi anu aka say gold we dey building reserves dia currency na ho den kofuma na the gold na supported sa na ban bia ye nti wo ye number say you need gold ni bikra na ye ka beka se bia ye will be the whole Africa be nyama mu nyina ye na yetu gold kase 54 countries yo 54 countries
ye na number 1
ye na number 1 enti edi enti da also ho kire wo to gold edi enti na gold ene ohia etna edan baakum why should gold and poverty live under the same roof? Ghana.
I do not buy for President Mahama about GoldBod to harness 30% of states are small scale. And your body, sir, because a small scale for no, a fan for Tom go that a home tax and shut down Magana government office.
Yes.
And it's a CIA levy every ho. Says I bet in tax go on. Buying here alternative sources of revenue. No, not just all the GoldBod never no coordinate at least small scale for the and out of 30% because I brought for no companies in their taxing to me.
Yeah.
Entity to meet this small scale for no taxes at least. So any bad idea to regulate the small scale sector.
The focus is not on the tax. The focus is on the good nankasa.
Okay.
Good nankasa. Omo twice a cocoa board to go a cocoa free for one. So na we to good na free farmers so na o good wa. Ubetimi we fan say you can say 11.6 30%. What the any calculations is here. I mean 10% to buy 1. And that's about 3 billion.
3%. 3 billion.
$3 billion. And Jabano has a command of $3 billion here. $3 billion. Calculating here, yen common year. My calculator away. 0.3 times 11.6. 3.5 billion. In the $3.5 billion, you know, Abano manage $3.5 billion here. Every year, you manage $3.5 billion. This is had asem kesiye pa.
Not just say, but it will be less than 11 sikanmeboa. Anna. No, more than 11 then was 6 billion Ghana cedis, not dollars.
11 the credit was just projected you.
Sikanga said is true.
Sikanga said they buy one. Last year, buy 1 billion. The since now can they just projected figure.
It makes more sense. Government because 11 no the GoldBod number because $3.5 billion no is more valuable.
Oh, of course, it's more valuable. We require dollars. We're $3.5 billion. I think I remember Ghana scam be brave. Into yet me manage say na where you go now buy na to. Abani to me to say bia you keep kakra na dache yakoton bi say price no costra ni yakoto ni enya dollars ni de bia be show economy na Ghana scan agina na because inflation costra ma na bo aye din nyina dodo na agina currency ni so dodo na agina cedi ni so aban oman bia cedi na currency na ho odin agina ni export so enti export no so ownership is a key factor. The GoldBod no ka say ye hu be wuram na ownership no abedi ye ho but 30% abedi aban no na aban no mfa so wonya ewo gold no akosoro Ghana nyina mbeto ye Ghana nyina bi nyamfa so but ye dia
and no asem
idea the other how in your introduction idea the yo idea the ye nti ye wura Sami Jamfi we dey over to you idea the good idea na ye bom pa ye say
implementation nkoye won chendi bibi saa na nkofa asem ma
you say my own say bill no parliament o ma debate ya menti de bia o wan no say what be dia me sure say parliament hey bia
afi no mo de be ko say this week no mo ye 11 ne betting tax ho adwuma so now that and where we no mo twen say president be assent no afi no mo be lay before parliament so that they can debate
ya man yosem NPP say bibi papa wo mu a mo nka say bibi papa bi wo mu na no Eura say chairman Sabos o ko kan wa say oh adwene na actually adwene papa nti say adwene papa ye nyina ye nta NDC fo achi no mu implement say o na say bibi eto chima wo mu a na wa bo mo ye mu asutire say oh Eura Mahama ade we dia ye mfen so ye Eura afenyo marking you say the o man ko for hit pa o parliament say bibi nya obebo mo hit say sa ade we dia munyin frim ye mpene so but say bi papa bi wo mu a omomo din say sa de we de eye e ba abonten so yi nyina ye bekinkan okay FM wo ho ye so ye wa academia obi abekinkan bi civil society organization obi abekan bi na ye so de ye wo mu no ye de betudwa de enye wo mu ye say e was aban system no ye de betudwa
okay
ni at the end of the day ni yi mu na yi na ye pe one emphasis
Prof, don't you think say because this issue about Ghana ye operate capital free market anti government esan gold now but is that also not a concern because the way to the gold no on no determine the price but now you who the cocoa cocoa sector so buying a determine FOB price more you nim say the for complain the be as aban sisi wo mu nti you did the same concept no cocoa gold sector na then maybe smuggling here encourage so for the any confirm fa Ghana go be smuggler ko
say any kwasa aban use force so that kind any socialist society a capitalist Krobi so there do before complain why you should do but Ghana na open market enti accommodate any negotiation and how obama no attractive until you ras Sami Jamfi me say all brono so ne
yes I had discussions
it's all about making it attractive letting the citizens know the benefits to the country because all they call obi bia de come Mali osmago come Mali osmago come Mali emfaso no nko na abenye o but all the GoldBod emfaso be ba ye nyina so
okay
hence idea no also sell it we just have to sell it the idea to the public and make it attractive not force you know and that's the difference you mean for so but you can make it attractive so come market here say ura market here obi tomatoes a free market but Oko nipa ba ko to adentia because we are selling the tomatoes need to you say oh my tomatoes fresh uko sum na fresh so better I say ya on to and na obi anso mfa gan see to say we ya chinchina ma me we na koto ni toast
sir
it is all about negotiations, all about letting the people know the other benefits. It's a benefit to society. And yes, can go say be a share minus no share cocoa gold price no kwa. And on a beer omon ton ma Ghana. But uche so much room say be an income I say uche so much room say someone de mo gold no ma Ghana buy first. You better build your reserves. Reserves on which they say. Remember, we see that horn in the edge. See the horn in Gina. Say the normal boy is contemptible and also be Gina friend inflation. And first, go to tomatoes be at 2,000 now in a year's time. I caught 4,000. Say with a good board, I do more, you know, because see the horn in Gina inflation is regular. If be at first, I did out on 2,000. I be any more crowd, be at 200 bin. I could do 4,000. I could be at 2,200. A bad man for Swabama who could Joma. Who could talk tomatoes 2,200. Miss Miko about tomatoes 2,200. And for Swan, if any society social benefits, you know. A bad woman, yina, Ubia, Benya, and home for so. But who's my go come Malidia? Unkwana Benya for so.
Oh man, that's what about the boarding. Now, so no.
Hey, until church the muno, until I make a program with pan and then why the obija. Until yeah, starting church the muno. You say me no, serious, I say a natural resource, no. If I saw in your film, no, it's shot. Until I see a queen, we are queen, no, and never been a buying a year. The big kind was say GoldBod, I say, I take. Ye DNA show woman. Yeah, boy, my education say small scale miners, no. I do not am buying day, but I dream papa into me more buying. Now you manage your economy, sit down holding your more reserves. Okay. Now you quit so now you special purpose vehicle. I also this can share a good unit to room. Now you can be brave. When now you dream papa into your bomb the OKFM, if you say media stations will be started. No, city, Bernard Avle, any metro, ne, back first, I don't watch it. Omodi, Kukudam, Kwame Sefa, Yasa, Sefa, your
Tema General,
Tema General, Omuna, a drew job. And yeah, can I say, gold, no dear. You gold near crude oil, yet me, number one producer of gold in Africa. Now, yeah, with him, now you need here. Inti journalists will be sorry. Na yem kwa by young country abani says, our GoldBod now was starting in the initial. Why, yeah, a babu. Memo so any year, you better support it. Education, you need to be a classroom, me educating my students. No, so Umunya sa idea now, Umudi Benini. Confusion, so more catch your mammy, or too good, and papa, or no more for be all too good. Say you call a university, your lecturer say, GoldBod, yeah, the papa. And the mammy, if I good number, Samijan fee company, no, a company as Samijan fee down on Namonto. China, I handle about 1,000 to 1,005 students every year. And Samemeka, Obifu Fransoka, Ufri, call UPSA, call tech, and just before a buy never realize, and not when the buy-in of the citizens.
Sir.
And a policy be if you get a buy-in of the citizens, you know, and no way you almost support you succeed. You succeed.
But Prof, why is it that Bessie Nana say and Crawford still have their suspicions? Because GoldBod the buy Crawford I say baby I didn't say I buy no or Bejakodi. I don't know why. The same thing Agyapa buy and Crawford I buy no more Bejakodi. When they say GoldBod the buy. Exactly. I don't know why don't we believe our leaders? Is it that you said? Oh yeah, because especially this week, yeah, I do boy here, branch here, I said my best. Wakoto, every south in Charles. Obviously, Wafano no Tonjiaga or no.
Yeah.
Why don't we? Because they're okay in access, the people must rally behind projects, no?
Yeah, yes.
They say, how can we support him with the GoldBod, no?
Oh, and come on, India, and no, I don't know. I'm saying, or Fidie Cassie, and I'm about journalists or Ghana, I could damn Binsudin. So, when so a fat say, oh, this is a fear of him, lady, push for better benefit from the natural resource. No, seeing I am one, the project here. Now, all we are doing is to educate the public and educate the government. Say, abaye ade awo ye ne ya papa enti yemwa sei na ye soma ebe ye nemum se say almost started debate next week. Me follow debate in the park. Say be NPP on about Fenyo King or leader, minority leader, or can be. That's a mubugu say, moya minority, micro minority, yentia. And then I confront to Kanebano.
Sir.
Then I confront to Kanebano. Say minority, I can be say, oh, Agyapa name we achia, Montana, we achia, Montana. Namo Quatra say, only Mahama Quatras, no cast, oh, I Fenyo King can say, oh, say. No more son, no more side about you. Now Ghana for you who say what we are listening president and now listening government.
Okay.
Next time, so the special purpose vehicle initiative in the back, I can say management in the back. I'm on for best support. Name who say, oh, Jamfunu, would you wouldn't see Nipa would you so kind of yes, Anna. Next time, would be about Obian's because a month from some saw. You never come, yeah, no more, yeah. We got it now. They also buying who says, I'll go board no. Home sikan isha HN special purpose vehicle no. Until we know to me any year. That's a Ghana for you to me and support you. The next project say a bay special purpose vehicle no. Ama buying this car shame no. Need to no. Ghana for best supporting no. Because if I say, okay, a GoldBod no. We year. Until when let's propose our day banner. You know, I did a whole good mountain, so near can say, oh, yeah, support it and buy. Okay. No matter what we can say.
Japan, is the ultimate concept. I bet me a Ghana more than for so here. It's a buying you go, but on for the name called a Japan who say, baby,
exactly. Young Copesica and find shed need to extraction. A honey, you seek a womusha. So, see, can you what's a musha?
Okay.
You sunny diagram NC, no contribution,
no chop.
Until we young for 10%, it's because we interest 14%. Until 14% is so for 10% and a woman.
Okay.
It's open for 50% there, and you also for excavation 50%. Now you know into now participation, whichever name is whichever now you call. Now, who share me send you be about the budget.
Yes.
We share budget this year, 2025 budget. I buy say we have crude oil. I buy is a crude oil I bet you know. A bit now be drew $3.5 billion. With the balance actually say Ghana deal able drew 1 billion out of 3.5. We share carry them participation interest now. You deal 14.3%. Let's say crude oil on your tour. Physical crude oil no. Every 100 BR no, ye di 14, abrofun di 86. We ana obi okwabra ne di atwere gu budget mu say ye nyina kenkan. Ti we ne yete ho. Every 100 barrels BR Ghana di 14, abrofun di 86. Nemum abrofun no koto omo de na mbetua tax, etua royalties, etua amayen. And now can now boom Eddie Kokaya 14 who are now payment for $1 billion. Into the value of the value of oil production in Ghana in 2025, ebe see $3.5 billion. Ghana buying Chefa room a $1 billion. Into 2.5 billion in now mining companies no. I didn't hear because Omu to no one for Sikanshim.
No contribution, no chop. Until the end, there was here some rano. Now we are contributing so that we can chop.
And it's a long term. And yet, Nasem, a long term. We share time a President most start say, special purpose vehicle. There's a better 10 years about you. Still, I at home yet me. But it me because you change the government. We are not in India, we are not in India. But it means long term standing. Sir. This is the idea. NPP, NDC, whatever we be, please pursue it. Because the idea is
the politics will be background or pursue and not done it. I say, Nipan because we are a year ago join the SCCI because he also oil sector anymore, very because no civil society groups in my sana. Or venture into politics. Remember not joining because we need long term into it, especially budget 2025. One would have thought Agyapa will feature prominently say the NPP how are we bringing it back, especially they say taxes in be everywhere. We need to streamline baby a benyesika now can say 1D1F no, it didn't feature in 2025 budget, which means factories in koboka kanono. So meanwhile here you mama boys because unemployment double over the last 2 years. So and he said, why are we not doing it?
Yeah, we should really take advantage of our minerals. Nyame dia chair. She asas na ade ba akwa da bia me madam for debate ni say I'm sure say Europe kunsu bi on mbe adwuna. The mineral in the ground is not valued at zero.
Okay.
The fact saying to gold doesn't mean say gold is zero. The value of the gold is zero. No way. And your concern sign krata na. Mama ye nko saa de nso ho say yen too gold into your started from zero. No. The fact say what who say gold no sheho means that it has a value. Just I say me who say gold no but mean to ye ne zero. No. If what who say be sheho into ye dia. So we must place a certain value on the gold. Na share from na yen to ye no. Into the machine be two. I was say yes, you carry the participation interest no kwa animu kakra.
Sir.
Ese ya wode maye no. E me kan kire say untu ye nti zero. But what discover say bibi she ho.
Sir.
So once I discover say bibi she ho no de enye zero. Enti e ho so say a contract ye sign a ye me ye ni nko ho.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. But doc, just before I be na me say budget here 11 would that pose any danger immediately?
Oh no, sir, abana I find a way or restore the one lose no. Or say tax refund amount for abuse no. Or be cap no at 4% of tax revenue, not 6%. Okay. So the difference of 2 billion can bring in 3.8 billion. But it's a question of efficiency. And yet something you can easily monetize. And yes, you can free baby, but I say umu near the home. And I'll be just a person. Now, what money and the send ye a book and tea more moon now. May say, my can say, can be say COVID-19 levy the moment you free. More you betting, more you levy, because I bind young cotier drum run one eye. Sir, you say I bind you free SHS, I bind your capitation. Sika I bind the man here for leap, no, watum, what the year training allowance, Nina watum. And here or say, sir, COVID-19 almost said, Dino. Maka, I think, sir, Ghana had me who economists be our cast yen flow, be I say, yen keep it near said Dino. Now, no health minister say, we hear billions of cities at the baby agenda 111. And the for COVID-19 can be enquire. Health insurance, made a be advocate say, health insurance say the coverage is 90%, and yet 90% of all diseases. And the COVID-19 can be eco health insurance. No increasing coverage, of the diseases to maybe 95 or 97%.
Okay.
Maybe you're able to say dialysis, yeah, some and 100% covered, yeah. Because of COVID-19, can have eco health insurance. And to say, wow, say really beyond kidney area, health insurance, ukra card now, a barber free. Okay. And to keep it. A year for a year from a populace a crowded. They are playing politics with the economy like a year for Ukraine Bani Yaquine, Ukraine a taxi fraud. And I don't blame the citizens, it's the politicians now on their campaign. And you through. And Timoma young fire say, they say young fire, okay, budget to the man, and some pack a crowd, and some power. Young start to say, start money more. Say, MVP also started how.
I know, right?
How they started so well, and along the line, and you might be a yanti, young say a number call a nimuna, a binding yeska. Extractive sector, I'm saying Rapoku,
and the same Rapoku because I make us on why you was area hope sana. Over Rapoku, the only American by extractive industry, any sika yenya woman idea. He was suggesting say there's so much you bet me. I said Ghana ye sika ko shem na ye drill ya ye benya more than the I say taxes ne are there per neighbor, which is not much. What do you have to say? Because meaning so why extensive work in that area.
Me chiao na me chiao chief one work for. Me ba so ho ye de.
Adumara kwa no pa boy.
Me ase. On say ya na san komo no de bia me ka se ne kan kana. On say Abino has no business putting the scarce resources in those risky ventures. Say ya na de bia ye ka se Abino discussion mo. The reason Oko casino yes black and there's red. Oh, the two black and red bar will lose. Oh, the two back we bar will lose. But there is a way to me two fin. Oh, the two fin a ball red or a ball black will win. But no do benya ka crabby. So you mitigate your risk. Say Oka say a binding for yes ye be though. Ye papa chachu abresono. Na Ghana, yes, the history of how much Chachu took at that time, our scarce resources. Rates, exactly. And nothing came out of it. And now, said Dr. Du can say government needs to raise revenue. There are scarce resources in terms of social interventions, social areas like education, health, and road sector infrastructure. So they need resources. How do you now deprive them of that money and then go and bet on black? So you take the money to the field and you don't get anything. That's is the risk. The reason
Japan was a good idea.
No, Agyapa was not a good idea. You see,
Japan was not a good idea.
No, it was not a good idea. You see,
why?
My point is that Agyapa was that currently we are getting royalties. And you are saying that you want to borrow money that would have gone to the future generations. You want to borrow, use it now, and then use our accumulated royalties over a period to pay for those things. I have a problem when everybody wants to basically deprive the future generations and use the money now, hoping that by then the economy will have grown and this. It doesn't make sense. Look at when we went to the bond market and we were borrowing ahead of time, 15 years, 20 years, 30-year bond. It will maybe cry a century bond. Why would you want to century? I mean, you want to borrow today and then in 100 years, somebody will be burdened with that money. It doesn't make sense. Yes, by then the economy would have expanded. Look, when we borrowed in 2007, the economy was so small. Today, the economy is a 1.2 trillion economy. So yes, in actual fact, your ability to pay that 750 million we borrowed in 2007, you have improved your chances of being able to pay that money because your economy is now a 1.2 trillion economy. But we shouldn't do that. I mean, a country should always live within their means. And that is where the problem is. I mean, I'm surprised my brother is saying that this budget is better and whatever. This budget is nothing different from last year's budget. This budget is different from any other budget. We have a budget where basically we are still about 30% off. Sorry, we have about 3% of the about 30 billion. If you look at the expenditure as compared to income raised, okay, it's still within that 30 billion cities shortfall. No, we are trying to spend more than we've raised. And I have always said that revenue as compared to your expenditure. If government comes in and saying that he wants to basically help save the country, that gap needs to be closed. Last year, the year before, the problem I have always had with budget read by every finance minister is that. Sorry. I did a problem. I did a problem. I'm war with most finance ministers, and they say, "Tembiano, unim say wono o target of raising revenue compared to the year before no AEC. Now what be projected revenue of ABR number BR a year way more than the year before. No result to meet is our target. No. Now I offer expenditure kakraka to him. Now what the company said, because untumi meeting or revenue target, expenditure no now become earn and spend. So it do work as a project way, but says sikana amba sa project ni enye For your budget over the years, there are some coin be or yeah, every year be your budget. Every year,
yeah. Before I'm year of Kakrano, they be a body fufu sola.
Yeah, coin be or be your budget. I didn't because you project it. See a bit to me, but revenue now my yeah. So realistic budget and I am Pimpy said when you share campaign last year. Ghana for be pre in someone Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, which is a very sad thing for me every day I meet you or can politics for Ghana because Osha say or the 3% of our GDP, Bema private sector, and my private sector I finance it. So 3% of GDP no cars or the Bema private sector are financing. What in actual fact the man was saying is he's going to basically take away the over expenditure. Because so government is going to balance his books. The government bet to me a reason, and a government best spend it. So
30% private sector
thank you. That 3%, which works out about 3 billion, which works out to be about 3 billion Ghana cedis, no, right? 3% of our GDP, which is about 3 billion of the GDP, no. Private sector and financing. In Tizabasa hospitals are private sector and see. Schools, private sector and see, buses, private sector and all. Then they are buying and they say are buying LDC. America, a Krubia as well. Cars, American police using United leads. Government in top are buying and top police cars. Most of the universities are private institutions. Tech say the private sector and SEC hostels now in comfort team. So I didn't know burden for the expansion infrastructure in the health and education sector. No, my private sector and your government now leaves it from them. It takes away the burden. And no need that was and no need side and Ghana went because of Ghanaians were just upset with the another government. So as a result, they didn't want to hear anything anybody MPP had to say. But those are some of the
8 years. To me, I private sector because can rake in $3.5 million. And think at least I can grant to be more economy no more to me in a year. Because that was the condition.
Now GoldBod, the same gold for oil rebranded. GoldBod is gold for oil. It's the same thing. Gold for oil is the same thing. GoldBod is PMMC, PMMC, and na omo akoya befa ni GoldBod. The first time baby and sunka. And your GoldBod ni be nyina no. Gold for oil, not necessarily gold for oil, but more or less be gold for commodity, and as a gold for services. So, the expanded version of gold for oil is what you call alternative forex policy. Okay, is the alternative forex policy. And no say, Agyapa and KB and Kabaku here dollar diano, and then who the gold in the bay. That and one GoldBod, which is the brainchild of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia under gold for oil. We are saying maybe the two institutions no obia were different approach. May idea hameka bastardization. So who approach is different from him approach, but don't bastardize because at the end of the day, no, the spanner 10 and 2 battery no. Our friend no spanner 50 no, spanner 10 no, a spanner corona na be 2 battery no. O just say untumi for the fufu bia in 2 battery. That is an only problem. Oh no, and fundamentally, idea na ye and one obey. But what bastardizing no? Na what koechimi ensa. Meanwhile, san baby na mi jinana. So that politics that it me saying I feel say look, you've known me. My politics is different. I think say Sadia no emwa. Share healthcare, right? Now there's a free Obama Mahama care. What is Mahama care? Mahama care is the same thing what was happening in the health sector. Dialysis, all these things that were being covered now. Somebody is saying I'm going to cover it under Mahama care. It's the same thing. You own no opportunity from. But I had the corona and I
Corona.
the corona will be an house obey. So, ain't maybe a year no young fun 2 year. And all kind paper. Yes, we've achieved gender parity in education. But somebody went around the country, no can say, because of free senior health school, now there are more women, there are more girl child going to school than female. Than male. First, now it was 60 for every 100 male, there was 64 girls. And there are more females going to school because of free senior high school. But no, Obin person or say we've achieved gender parity. How did you achieve the gender parity? It's because
politics now about shadow issues.
Thank you. Because on person Obama credit to anything that Obiaye in the past. And nothing a year break no. Because Obi kone nimba kwa no Obiaba or bastardize no akone chimiensa no asan be jina baby any panijina na. Why do we do that to ourselves? Yes, in any pana ya look Obi kind budget. Also why achieve 5.7 growth in the year, 6% non-oil GDP. Also, but it's not real growth, it is galamsey growth because 5.7, no, most of it was isn't gold a sector?
Growth.
Yes, isn't gold a sector? And to be a growth sector, no, but even if it was gold, it's growth.
But Mr. Poku, the problem is more so NDC phobia. I was saying, do baby, I said,
I agree. It is not MY that make say NPP here, you say NDC here, you mean by MY Ikrono. Because no Emma you in Koswa Kosu Kronim. You won't Koswa because one over spend it and finally say Bosumi, me and Saba, ye Papa John Mahama by it. Now, enyoma bibria kosono osuma suspended mejai ni nyina nan from alpha so 8 months time now assign the aba. We've lost 8 months. Ehuni faso. Galamsey and some kekaye. Are we not still and the chicken has come home to roost? Whereas that whole politics say MPP for campaigns near Galamsey buy ye build two it has come to say correct. Because if it was MPP campaigns, police for Krakwa, there are people who are so powerful. They say, who deep military for the move free and come to me. Are they MPP people? They are not. Whereas TV so can say, if you look at the report, there was a 2020 report at MPP, a loose election. No, loose election in there, but the results of 2020 was not as good. So
the gold areas in Amuluzu.
Baby, thank you. Baby, lose seats. There was a report. Osha report now. Baby, gold areas are now at that time. No, Nanado air fighting Galamsey. No, the NDC were there doing politics with the Galamsey. Even when party 2024 in the western region and central region, baby or how na MPs no politics of say me few buy mama juma say ni now maba no mpa mo because mu catch say mama juma. So entino to entra make say you be if we per se ye de Ghana festa. Yenjai amanyosem in certain areas.
Okay.
And Galamsey has become one of them.
Galamsey is true. It's a done issue. In fact, now no minister no crack up parliament no kamabo no can the same thing. Say
nothing and a headline or see it's not about NDC, it's about there. And I'm say hey, and I confused him idea. Kofi Boadim say it's not about it's about traditional, it's about area. Me Kojopoku can say why are people demonstrating in Accra? If you want to demonstrate about Galamsey, in Krasina Galamsey, in the demonstrate here, and the part you try me Ghana.
I can't bring attention. I can't buy anything.
No, but that's not that. But the problem is that you will not tell. I mean, about me 1 minute being the same way. Whatever is happening in Accra. In the ministries or in Jubilee House, the permits they are giving, it's not illegal mining. They are giving the correct permit for them to go and do the correct thing.
Small scale mining.
Small scale mining, which they are giving people the right permit. So, what demonstrating Accra? Are you demonstrating against people who are being given the correct permits to go and
It
mine?
could be said they are demonstrating because more time so more permit no broso.
Yes, but the permits, no, but none of the permits, none of the permits are almost are in areas near any water body.
But say be more permit maybe with forest reserve.
You see, yeah, now okay, but you see, whenever we talk about forest reserves and we talk about what people now say, oh, it's polluting water body. Forest reserves are not near water bodies.
But forest reserves are supposed to be reserves.
We agree, but it has got no conversation with water bodies. You see, the biggest conversation in Galamsey, everybody ends up showing you water bodies. Forest reserve, no, Emrama Hunkwayo.
Forest reserve.
Yes, a forest reserve is not protected. Mami can't say
even at this crisis rate, you know.
It's not protected. Mami more example be. I had a license to do a dam on the Ancobra.
Dam.
Now, when you now dam the Ancobra and you are to basically create a backwater, ABIS inundation, which is flooding, because our blocking in Suna ever flooded some place. Say forest reserve inundated say blocking Suna's ever flooded forest reserves are. You go to Forestry Commission, they give you a permit. Then what happens? They said, "Oh my kind India forest reserves flood never affecting. You compensate and then they plant it somewhere else." And Timbra and says, "Oh, be development be not a forest reserve. Forest reserve takes precedent over the no." And
even in this era of climate change, you know.
No. That's the idea. Who go no idea by before. It is a pudobi as a forest reserve tipudoni. It doesn't work like that. The issue is that
one said the alarm was drawn said more time, more over 200 licenses, especially at a time when crisis, because I'm saying the bedroom baby and a agency.
Any agency saying first no.
Agreed.
My main cause first no. About 2012, 2013, now na Galamsey no omoye ni wuro kakra. Omu sa wo ba na omu nim wa wo ya no mu dwane. Ene baby bebre udru krom ho a ekro ne kwa ho no ansa na be rudra kro nim no na omu ye Galamsey no. In fact, onam kwa no ho obi say o kwa akra Kumasi a ohwe bonkum hwe nifa omu ye adwuma. Omu an normal review and form. So they are more emboldened. My more example, Oyoko Ashanti region papa asase so. Friend me say could you Mr. for regional minister na mama me because me here moi. Esiye omu tu esiye.
Esiye no.
Esiye no omu tu because e ho no mo start e to Galamsey no. To omu tu in na wesi or omu. So now they are more emboldened now than they were before. So it's a national crisis. It's a national crisis. Look, last year, no politics, my MPP are unpopular. But now, it hasn't stopped. 3 months into this administration, it hasn't stopped.
So, I buy 9G from President Mahama who 120 days.
Oh, Anka buy 9G form, I buy 9G form, military form, I bet you I can see a comment to me. If younger for your musha white t-shirt, never cost of this idea.
Why be not some special training there?
Training bay.
Blue water
to me, is make say community policing. That brings me to my point to say, do not demonstrate in Accra, go and demonstrate in the village because the awareness, say, oh yeah, awareness, no in Grassina. And no, say village in Grassina for take care of the fighter, it will stop. Because in every community, they know. And they want to me, now fool, crown to me, could be a fool. And they film me, no, me, to me, call a crevassing consultant and drop banshee. It will be assassin. So straight away on Babachi. In there, then will be to be called the machine cool row be a fool, no be any. Me no, a crab piassing or Ghana high to me, I call, yes, you could jab and chabra and share. Never change. And you assassin. What I say, Assasibia ora. And to your name, no me, your cook will be as Ghana near Kura or be a foam, a jabancha or machine. Here then, you will be Ghana highest will between the machine cooler. Yes, will be any. It's not possible.
But I just a moment breso NDC breso. There were people powerful behind it.
It is it has to be a united front.
Okay.
Me cock a case yinjai. Now we'll cock us who may few or more to Obama memra. The fight is over.
Okay. Okay.
It was done in 2020 and it was done in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
When this party is at the forefront of the fight, the other party is saying, "Zemasa to Obama me oba memowaye." And no, and I say no, it's come home to roost because when the MPP near catch them conform say Omunjai no, NDC was always telling the people say, "Mutu Obama yeba bemwa yeba mamaye." And no till the name no mutu stop you.
And because
yes, because the person will stop you on one. And yeah, in Fianga for your Musha white t-shirt now the cost of Pogalam say Operation Vanguard then to me, win it to me.
Maybe there's a new strategy to it. But Mami Musa, you movie away from Galamsey and Yanko Dumsor. Dumsor Asamba na.
Maybe I'm no bako. I've always told you said be our can you be do more and yet doom something our can you do. There are challenges in the system. I think Kumasi Ashanti region, especially in the last 2 months, now there were almost bulk supply points are now being upgraded. Education, and Kosuye, our Ashanti region. The beginning of the year, in the month of February, now Omoya maintenance, West African gas pipeline maintenance. Now, someone me dibiana me catch them in UNDC for and say, area be on Tiasia or the politics. So abiding niska and abiding cannot procure fuel and our fuel abiding to mean tunnel if abiding with scan to fuel a light in doom. And they NDC for buyer, they spent over $300 million in buying fuel. Right? Fuel. Yes.
Wow.
Omato fuel omu pibiano, omato. But today, some lights still go off. Extra will say, can you be doing it in Meno? I not the piano so go for the Mibo Ebreming. Because extra will say, Asmana me make and I'm right. That and yet fuel I'll be top. And I'm our light in doom. There are technical challenges in the system. And those technical challenges, the man go for can you do? And in Frama unza for the whole of this year in show and toy. And in Frama Faber 20 minutes be.
I munyasem ketwa.
In Frama Faber 20 minutes be okrumha. And signboard be India, even ANC. Solar no abu. Well, we and no baby do me. I didn't try because in Frama Fi Emma India it will Google lines so Obibeka say Dumsor. It's not
Dumsor.
Dumsor as I understand it. It's time where you need enough supply. Na ye load shedding. Ojasia me kujupokudia me tiasia no ne say country no ohe total demand na eni ho ohe total supply na eni ho demand no ebro supply ni so as a country yendru ho ojasia yes
officially we don't have that kind of
we are not we have enough supply to meet the demand yendru ho. There are challenges here and there, like the Kumasi Ashanti region instance where they were building a new bulk supply point. Oma and education ye internal Kumasi for Kanye when at the last minute Ababe commission Oma cables be ekoye in the paja. Another issue came up, though now it's been resolved. So Ashanti region is not as bad. Will there be another problem here and there? Yes. Every time there will be challenges because we all run a system, a mechanical, electrical, and there are so many things that will come up. Intermediate. I mean, to me, I say, oh, Dumsor bad because I don't think I do my politics that way.
I think I like the clarity now. And I respect you for that. Dumsor. And by your definition, that is only when there's more demand than supply, and we don't have that problem.
We don't have that problem now.
MPP no be and count the politics.
But my make us a control you. Year 12 batch now. Year 12 next year. Year 12 2028. You do time a year kotoba. Nani pana or Timamunino dum say in the last 4 years, mekania you dum ni sa we think say MPP no mukoyena are better managers of the power sector than NDC almost here. Enya me na make a tro mo no never to about.
Wa na obehu.
Oh, that can you doom there? Minyaba, we know Kase, you do be can you nipa na yankumo on tebio. Coach as here. It took the TV to the radio, so you doom so politics. Then can you doom no? As my walk I want it. The can you doom? Coach as here. Let's not be no, like I said, if we get to the point where we don't have enough supply in the system, I will say it's a look, we don't have enough supply in the system. But as we stand, we do have enough supply in the system. There are challenges every here and there, people can you do any day. But the main president this if only back any year and they say they have all the fuel that they claim the NPP into Minton. And they have the fuel, but lights are still going off. So light I've always maintained say light going off is not financial, it's technical. Now can Ubiam so biti Ubia
They say what is the technical problem apart from Ashanti region they also are resolving. They say what is the Framano penny the issue are?
There are so many but there are so many challenges. You see me about my more example be in October last year. October last year, an opinion number I can't remember where we be near what many doctor Nama campaign. And I keep getting feedback say, oh, can you do you know? I wanted to know a day koso. Who's in your gas free Western Corridor, which is the Ghana gas near here now, a kotema. Then Ghana gas for omukoto oil be a go machine. The oil was contaminated. A she machine back to straight away. And within 2 weeks, now I said Dr. Benasante Kotina Elemele Hono baby Ghana gas wono overnight no more year to bring in the new part to replace it. These things happen all the time. Meno, I am not in the sector the way I was before. Until you know, I don't have the updates that I get. But the one thing I know is so be kanya be near is not the Dumsor I could me could do my definition of Dumsor is when there isn't enough supply to meet demand. Where we are now, we have enough supply to meet demand. So we can be doing one. It could be a technical problem in that area.
But it's here about a major issue because it's Galam said they're a very heavily politicized issue. How would you advise our buying for phrase or dealing with it now going into?
No, me see, me say last week Wednesday, the energy sector civil society organizations, engagement with the minister of Fiesta Royal and Obai, and one of the things he admitted is that the sector is very difficult. It's a difficult sector. On the car, you are not can in accident. What's happening? Car, you are not in accident. Now, but Tanakunyane swap. And I'll be who says a different from radio, so Tanani TV, so Tana argument. And now my brother John Jinapo is facing the rhythm. Oh, yeah, because every day there is something. You see, sector, no, it is managed. You have to manage the sector. And now the predominantly bad area is the power sector.
The whole Ghana, baby, it's a bad
power sector. Yes, and we are at the point because one, on the daily basis, no, Sika here to keep the lights on. It's more than Sika Yajiji sector. And that's a fact. As far back as 2017, and I'm a papa Agyapa Parliament cast here, they cut 2.4 billion. And they say, look, the first thing to do is to stop the occurring of indebtedness. Let's stop the bleeding. Okay? Yeah, stop bleeding. No. We try to put the new and PDS, which is the private sector participation, was one of the key areas. Was said and even when PDS failed.
The same PDS
yes, but when it failed, we should have done it again. And we are halfway through the problem. So because ECG is a monster. Right now, ECG is a big challenge and a big headache for everybody. Okay.
And that is suck away.
It is how they Sonia Kunzio. It is all this Sonia Kunzio. And it needs to be fixed. And yeah, I'm fixing the way it's supposed to be fixed in the last 8 years. And that's the truth. Nobody can come and deny that ECGs, the power sector was not fixed the way it's supposed to be fixed. And no share your manifesto. When I shared Dr. Baumia's manifesto, you can read it and see the pragmatic solutions I put in there. Say, and John is also following some of those things. So I'm like, look, I wanted to do it. Oh, now, yeah, I'll support you. So we need to work together to make sure that the power sector is fixed, because if it's not fixed, we will all be in darkness. Because
I like that point, but me person who see the all can say power sector is the most problematic sector of Ghana. But another company. ECG phone to me more.
No, it's not another company. You see, Obian can say ECG and I say ECG.
Okay.
Where the problem is revenue and customer service. That's where the problem is. It's revenue. And time I say Sonia because Sonia only Sonia says you unkudu ya kone Sonia na saying. Eti say fie na oche awiesu. Na awiesu no sika odi chi awiesu no. Nipa odi suma no ko echima no. Oko echima na o man 1,000 cedis awiesu. Na de bia obre 400 cedis a. Why na problem? Nipa no kwa chimano enya wa wo ye your friend is saying
manager no
enya wa wo ye awiesu no ofie no wo de wo ye say wo ye awiesu no wo just say enti wo share ECG na baby a problem ni wo no, which is collection of revenue sikajije ye
to me
and you say meter no kra no mama can say me job Ashanti region. So Bibusa said, what percentage of customers in Ashanti region do you think have meters out? What would be your guess?
80-something+%.
Nope. About less than 40% of the customers in Ashanti region has meters. Omo meter. ECG customers. 40% no meters, 60% any meters.
And this is just one region.
That's one region, yes. And when I say meters. Yes, but meters we need about 2 million. We need about 2 million meters in the country.
Well, the
problem is that you started with postpaid meters. And you call prepaid meters. But prepaid meters now become postpaid no and yes smart meters.
Oh, okay.
See, and they know all the postpaid meters are there. Then the initial prepaid meters that came and now all also a smart prepaid. Until now also we change postpaid now we change prepaid into smart prepaid. That's where the problem. Hey, now I don't understand. Ebia bitabaku be I ever say $200 up. Meters nobody. So let's say a 3-phase meter is $200. We have 2 million is how many is saying? That's 400 million. That's $400 million. Just to bring about 2 million meters into the country. And that money, because yen ton meters, Emma customers, they use it and you get the money over a period. And it's simple, sir. That is where the idea is that, sir, baby, in here heavy investment to be able to collect the revenue, from a private sector. Into sir, revenue side, which we are calling the last mile. Last mile near a free pull eba umita aba honone customer service. Say umita say call share you last mile. So the retail end into that area na yemfama eduma private companies na omono ento meter no install na omono engi jiska. Then we've done the boundary metering. The Edebema was our concession. We are All we want is the money back, and then
it's your penny. Me issue is that DNA ECG coin because me can't say ball a Juma start here. Zoom line on here. Yeah,
it's
why don't we do it?
But those a Zoom starting no. Na Juma be any ho ba ko on necessary ball anyina.
Aye.
And cannot say one problem because I'm common. It's a problem. They say okay, say woman will be a bar. Every time there's a resistance. But she say no crowd TV. So go so na buying beton ECG. Say nam yesterday. A buying yes beton ECG. Say yen MPP manifesto, any NDC manifesto was very clear on the way forward on ECG, which is the private sector participation at the last mile, which is the retail. Okay. Until no one as say, or more a former committee. I think the committee in the report about this week and next week. Now, the recommendation on the way forward. I think how it's going to be done is what everybody is looking forward to. But at least it is going to be the private sector participation at the revenue collection end, not the main.
But ECG should even be the biggest advocate for idea way I can say. Collection and for you to Kanyana Omuntia. The illegal connection affect two or more juma. Because I'm worried about wait.
But and then I no casen will be a lie or ECG said the activity will be a lie. It is a honor privatization nipa lie bono. So that person will instigate people to make it look like the panier. That's where the problem is.
And so the same ECG to me the containers be good port. Am I
right? So something there me my ECG problem, a port for problem. If you have say container bako, tape, container bako, container menu, container be free porter and the car bako the free. Also the container be car bako so. And they will be catch say enya menu, enya mienza, enya du, enya oha, apem aira. How? Abna enkwara utuma. Enkwara. Eti na no de me no ma me enka say ECG for the my day. Ade support. And they Ghana have a bit of a fact ye camera will equamu. Huawei cameras no.
CCTV I can see what.
Thank you. Eti then I will be catch me say cars mako 100 we see her actually even if it was for look if 1,000 3 years even if they move one container a day because 365 days in a year, right? So 3 years to be able to move a day be out container about 3 years. Even young funny say those containers were moved over 3 years. Somebody should have noticed there is a set of containers that is being moved daily.
Exactly. Now, port company security go on.
Now me no national security, one security, wait the ports and harbor, one omunyina gu ho. And then you be catch them say container poly or apim ayira in your fire. Abna if you kwara ukroma me enyo.
It's true. It's the whole gang. No, we are
there. Yes, you need your fire.
There's no way I containers.
Journalists be afraid me. I say my young common way ECG common because the end sana asemnasi agro ye so. ECG o my ECG ako krabi bi abana support na ira. Why do you blame ECG?
Because there will be there's a custodian of the container.
Yes, Ghana Ports and Harbour. So Ghana Ports and Harbour, people are aware. Omni baby wo. If there's arrest, you can I'm over to me the car back where pay free harbor.
Oh, to me, just say harbor crab and Taukuta Paso. Who need
entry nimpo there. Say over to me a room and pay. Well, I say they be a
simple, sir.
They be a make a story be yes, so your phone no more cover band. No more cover band now will be a ma. No, so we be omunim say so your phone no be a ma. Jom ko share mufti. Civilian clothes. And so omo band dey free obi amra. And yes, chromophobia dimika be room zero. So omo band you go share uniform say I wear tua obi.
No. When tia umpie. And how see because how about container credit.
How do you again where they pay every port? Baby, you containers, you go, you for you go here for us and go for your
MPS terminal 3.
MPS, ne other one, no me from the me of
Alaja Suma Banda Hono.
yeah, row, nina, honey, nobody. How would you move a container? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 10, 1,000 containers, Ira. Especially when they haven't cleared and paid duties and all that. It's definitely not possible. Atlas. Yeah, so let's not blame ECG for this matter. Let's do a proper investigation on the matter and find out deeper ESI. But ECG has its own problems. We know. Revenue side, no a problem. When we get that right and we're able to increase, because then from what numbers are finance minister said, to be able to break even every month, we need 2.7 billion Ghana cedis. Every month. You hear 2.7 billion Ghana cedis to be able to break even for fuel like you use or sector.
Okay.
Now, and you only about 1.2, 1.4. So, 1.4, now we hear 2.7. That means there's about 1.3 billion Ghana cedis every month that also been a bedebe, which is not possible to sustain that sector. In terms of the most biggest sector, and we are a big crew.
And they say NDC, they have no option but to make sure say Ombema ECG at least distribution customer care or no. Ombema private sector.
No, the revenue collection and customer collection and customer care. No, they will have to bring in the private sector. That one has to happen.
Now, any distribution, so because distribution
is the main work, which is the wiring now air the transformers and the wiring engineering side. No, that's the distribution. What distribute here we Busumi swan nipano sika also would you free the honor and no and a problem. No, because him say your areas be or call the street officer or the cat 2,000. It will know your line with 500 now.
Listen, I'm saying a prepaid meter. Almost say fault I the cat 3,500. I'm like a prepaid meters. This is an estate area, a prepaid. They talk and you use. So how can there be a debt?
It's a private person running. How would you if it's a private person who is running it, it will be run better than the current situation now you Okay. We need to improve the revenue from that place.
Yeah, program. We saw any final thought. I'm more for so enjoy no much or issues. I can when you final thought, their advice now the memo, especially in the energy sector, where do much and what can distribution side, collection side is a hot year. Say Gina Popper so succeed here. Omoma private sector. I'm happy on also converting or can want some say maybe a drone there. We and Ghana for we must all be ready. Say a cannibal was here.
No, but the only thing is that wow, we using free no, and I'll bet you a private sector neighbor, but private sector neighbor on fat a bill be a mecca home. Just because private sector neighbor so we have 2 cities, 2 cities done a bit here.
Okay,
and your private sector name man Joe Sikebi a broso say my name ECG beg you 2 cities, private sector beg you 4 cities. That's not how it's going to work. Okay, well let you tip you on a bit here. They own say. If BB distribution service charge, that is what and on ECG for use to running operations. A distribution service charge, superiors for a year tariffs now. Almost as a say, because of ECG's operations, you're more distribution service charge. Say, okay. So let's assume say on your obey so what you have 2 cities are they move 50 pesos a distribution service charge you call ECG. That 50 pesos, and an ECG be ponica cradiama sa company now or no babaji discount.
Okay.
What I say, yes, or ba amausika babe costo. Baby, okay. Well, I say,
but obisi membusa about Haptel. Some more time, for Haptel by it, then I to be in your collection.
Me pacho, sa Haptel as no. Me de be a bar, me say, unse na NDC war no, nom de Haptel near politics bar. And all buy what you have to tell us in view.
But Haptel is still there. The company is still existing.
But the company is still there. Or when they
are still collecting.
Last year, they be now kind of Haptel, and they what you have to tell us in view. Oh yeah, now on said Obi were here. now or can't say me have tell them say mentiasie. Enti nipo na me bom pa ye say obi aba ombi ebim na yehu bi. Oba betena ho bosume miensa. Who just say some George Abe press conference who say omo ton tell Tigo omo ye nipa bone for say ni say you try have tell there mra nyintie. Who just say yeah that oti abonten a o kan ne basa but to go inside wa there's a new ECG MD Julius Pepena, right? Okotena ho no okotena ba busumini. If the haptel is that a problem, how come nobody have mentioned it?
Well, we all need
to be educated on that thing. Whether and some normal can no crew, say no crew, or mobile, the normal can sign it here. I don't think it's sign it here, but let's see what the sector they will come and say. I did about Karamza Mekan, yes, I Kumasi as a by Yanko for piece a Jumnishi because can you doom can you so look, is it possible, say, you doom kanya, yes, so can you doom kanya, so can you it mission your yes, no correct. That action, it to me a shit, maybe because me and Papa Fee, we've had a first hand experience. Wada, there'll be one is a kanya and a core of kanya the buy, no power ne the buy, no na meter the side hono a peja, a Janet started free over you in them. But you also need to blame bad wiring and materials.
Yeah.
Bad wiring and materials. Now say you do kanya so be a nipa pibe fi enche. There are incidents, 1 or 2 incidents that yes, it's possible say you do kanya so back and forth they to make creative sparks na apeja. But enye no na obe blame entirely. You have to blame bad material, bad wiring and materials are use here. That area was not properly planned. It grew exponentially over the years. And there isn't a proper planning for how we will corona we wire we namhana we wahana we waha. It's very unfortunate. You may see in the Ashanti region, Kumasi, but I think that so don't saba coach will be swat. No, I should there also. The blame is everywhere for everybody. I think that we have to learn a lesson. Na municipal assemblies they are more unfortunately but they can also by now you're starting your inspection of those areas because the market fires are too much.
Yes.
Market fires when it says obi unya baby and on on your money confuse
there be
a good shop NTB sana sheno ne get bibia ko the area wom kra say bi okobo bosia abeji ontuaka ontonwie ase. So, I think that we need to municipal assemblies should do proper inspection and let's get
of the wiring and
the wiring. Yes, the wiring very important. Because can you so there it will happen. But is that the only cause of the problem? Is the wiring and the materials that they use? Inferior materials especially will create that problem.
You're a book, mammy. Now, and thank you so much. Why? And you have been very candid near they say a Johnny dear or say a yenny doom so. If you on my yen check bad wiring so until the back doom so a woman say can you doom near bar at the power and everybody but wiring also made them at who soon 9 canal confirm wiring. I am not architect for market use papa because I hear you now could the China for fake wiring. What's not be passing my man out the Dumsor and he has clarified it in fact and what he and confirm most any message because of your politics. He's not doing politics. He's been very candid, explaining the issues to us. Apparently, fact now also far too quick to you mean I am what a gun and the said the era pokuka and yeah, this in the NPP politics who know na those things they do baby I was here do too baby Dr. Sako de ba or not so kind. So gold in the oil, the may sikapa your tree a bunny G politics ni sin chain. See a year beboying or can say GoldBod, no bad idea. 30% of small scale miners no or more gold ne free one buy person regulate but no munye ye or the kokoboka say your politics you abanye ye no case and this is no come criticize Agyapa near my baby but a dear be on my buy any politics in Sinchen ye near your crying fast so dear baby digana mumu chense ebekwa kodi ankran krobotomu. So yeah, the politics in the checks and balances now what's checking on you to me and checking ye. Do so bet my joining out to share views on the penny for in can make Ghana the year because they say and then the parliament can only year free ho. Oma yi 11 free, oma yi betting tax free. Was I buying pesca free baby the question? One pesca and question near my old shop I say Mahama bay in your mamma to me yet. Your apoku can say be very important. Say one of the things any senka about Miaka and come the 30% of Ghana infrastructure project in Bebema private sector. Say private sector nankatankoye. Zika Kumasi road ya are nachi. Nakia the ama private sector ye. A year and an 40th birthday, yeah, and your birthday kitway. Onu say Biloni or Whiska. Nankamu de beto plane, and I can know the Aquacoya Creekumas, no, the toll siso. No, attending a canoa, you on one isika. So, Bibi San and a beboy. And the Echo ICT say, oh, a year friends, a galam say, need a Europe and canoe, or your politics. Well, what do you know? I think he was very emphatic, say. So I blue if we see blue gas, you want to be here. And I share that opinion. A Juma Yadiama soldier for Major Mama crack dencham yekuno. And two kofo be or shed t-shirt. Massa Juma no galam say Juma and yet better sao. Kofo kute tio. Former Chief Justice so for Kufunano can see their arms a goon kofo. So I could see if you are me 2,000 Ghana cedis for meter 6 months name is some kind. I could also mean you watching yet. Because the ECG 4B and when you ask them, because I'm saying I know me feel almost 3,500 number J. Osaje for say the challenge in ECG is sickening. ECG needs to be sold. Few people are enjoying what ECG go. That's the reason why you high tariff no. PRC for so money because the ECG and it dear and yet nyane kwan so kra. Chika, I don't know if that's the correct you see. Almost 10 meters no 1,000 Ghana. But ubusa almost say 10 meters no and so the ECG for no so what you say no comments appeal too and also the message on also I say Domi Kwabenya constituency JDM is telling Ghanaians said the youth in Ghana love betting more than employment anyway regards and commerce of JDM Nkasa maintain so wakasa also obey betting tax or can opposition and over power and that's what he has done and not just say youth no pay more eduma de bi ni ho na enyo no create unemployment the Ghana has always had unemployment. The question is there na ye to solve the unemployment problem. So what you say gospel would say your first Dr. Edu Ewusu Sarkodie a very good part in explaining the issues no nti yenhwe na yenka ho asem pa because issues na Dr. Sarkodie raise in very very important issues. Osaje for say Yero Kojopo kono ane na ban MPP for na kofa haptel ne baye ba Yero Kojopo ku so ma explanation no say NDC for betina konya so boso me ensenie say boni bi na haptel ya omo mekan no say haptel for nya hwe and na from Pompo say how can a whole container cause say makoma 1,000 yes ayira port for na so almost so Emma Bonte Metrim. Fred Kofi Boati no say ade containers na ira dey create loot and share. Adwem money abroni beye pa. How dey me know ya adwem because containers 1,000 to me that port security e wo port no just say the port na e tie temane e wo containers just before crowd o be ben gate no gate be 6 na be from answer we pie wo port. There is no way container crabeti me free port one my bro will be nim so mama call yera so riches mama good evening ni akwaba riches okay so where you want me to Mike no ti
good evening Sophia.
Good evening yenti o
Sophia me da seni akonya ene program ye kasa efa GoldBod no hono ni Agyapa no hono said ye ira Kojopoku ekan no policy ye abandada no na oye wo hwe Bank of Ghana and na to good no but this time around no this current government ne pese or board GoldBod not GoldBod ni mumututo wo hwe Ghana from ye independence ebeka 2024 before say gold purchasing government etwemu no chance ya to good newo 8, I think it was 8 kilos or something, yeah. But before so be free, so na omatimi atoto amana do 30. Inti osha abinda dano ebon homodin. Inti said ye ura kojopoku eka no ewo hodada. Just that say ntuma fufuro na ye fra no e de akoye GoldBod no. Na ye share GoldBod no enye eno ena eba beye investment no. Nemum eye de omo to na omo de aye barter system said ye kanena ni enimu no. Yera baumia moye campaign kwa no oka bi say abrofo no etimi ye investment o Ghana omo proceeds no omo de call omo man mu a aya no mpese omo sesa in dollars o Ghana e de call Ghana nso ye dollars no ye ni dollars dodo sa enema dollar ni cedi na ho ode no ekofom nti no o sha ase no auto gold no o kai company bi a no disca kese pa ekonikum or the gold enema omo in replace of dollars no said the be ya dollar na o mining pressure emma so emma ye cedi no enkoso nti sa initiative no eye good nti ye support GoldBod no so a omo de ba no just say eye the same ade na omo pese omo ye na yensan hwe Agyapa no so eni omo ana ewo mu no ye right kojokogu say on support the but me so ma dwin kire mu no eno nso so me so me hu say eno nso so beboa because ono a make assumption bi say ye koje scaby in 2007 I think say
international
yes
bond market.
international bond sa bond no this time around the economy na expand a yebetime tua sa sika no 2007 no nti say Agyapa no ewo ho say yebenya royalties bi wo na yetimi e de nya ye de akosi a wa de agi sika bi e de abo man no bra enuru sa years na yebetua na economy na expand a yebenya ahoden e de tua nti me de ma
You no support Agyapa no ho no kakra no.
yes me support Agyapa no nti say current government we no GoldBod na o ye no o make sure say otimi to Togo in fact omo budget ni mo no I think say 270 million Ghana cedis na omo budget for GoldBod which is for the start there but any form but say I say ye per se ye to gold no more pa na say ye ko ye ni mu a ko mu nyusu sa GoldBod no fanto no more said ye year about me I started ya wetime increase your gold reserves no from 8 I think say 8 ounce or say equal 30 no omo increase no omo ntimi to more omo to more na e be boa ma pressure na e war dollar no so no ye the exchange in the oil ne other commodities na be ma pressure na ba for ma ye see the na stabilize na afei so omo sa dia hwe ni investment side no so said the Agyapa no ye ka no enioma bi a enye wom na atia no omo ehwe no omo ntenetene no na omo nyusu de eye wom no na emboa o man
okay said the not said the doctor sakode kan na wo fo aso no say yenye de beboa Ghana man no yo you know what yo ya da se enko nana pok nana good evening mpacho so microphone no what do my mic so microphone no well, in the meantime, I mean, kind gospel. My kind of message you say, I was said, Doctor Yera Pokuba on Casa as a patriotic Ghanaian, and yan in no best supporting the MPP for no, and qua. Kofia do say, say illegal miners, Galam say for the terrorists. So, and yes, I would the uncle for your t-shirt in a coffee, your money, to be stopped Galam say no, or can be asked. None of that made you. Good evening.
Okay, Steffi, Medasi. Last week, you know, now me hate TV, na me said to you.
I had said, Nisa, oh, yeah, make me was out because I want to.
Na me, after I tell you, I'm correct, you know. I'm the hey, say my J-Jam, me mopa.
I want it.
Oh, yeah, lady can make here with your phone, you know. I'm sure I know what you my power, yeah. Steffi, I'm means no. I pin me pa ama ma baso ye containers na
Ayra
Yes, ayira wo port no. Metena sister via dwene no ma bi ho a at Ghana concert ye dedodo. And no ma bi wo ho a totally concert because why said the whole port, the whole security zone na yesi ye the normal a volume of minor Emma electricity betimi ejina so enkrasifo nya light Ghana ye port wo kro mu nya light port ho nom na no o mu nya light na ya
what the light go be bia nkane
yes
akwa
is that I asem nam de ka keke because light na abro eso ho a enka yenye wo krom kra na esenki etimi nya bi free wo so ti ase tie den a ye short no ma bi next via utimi eba betna se e ka kire oman no nyina se containers 1300 ayira everybody just said agro ben no nye enti na obi ni port ho enti obi nye adwuma wo port ho asem we ni kwan say minister kra wo be kasa asem we because wo be kasa asem we ya say a very disgrace ma or minor say ya people no say ya buying dada no say ya buying foforo no say I don't care about the same thing that happen here. Emma yes baby yɛde nnuro agu wɔtɛma na obi atumi de gya akɔ akɔtom ama ne nyinaa hye ɛba bɛsi nnɛ yɛante ho asɛm mu bio na adɛ wɔman bɛɛ ne yɛte mu saa no enti seesei ɛnyɛ me nwanwa biem sɛ yɛse yɛntumi ntu galamsey ase ɛnyɛ me nwanwa because concert ne dɔɔso because the concert in North one, let's say ye hear a dear no, or mine dear, yet to me, not to be the dear ban won't to me ya. Ne mama a woman is saying. I say, obia free, baby baby do or minus one. Now say, sepio, and you would dear no crown one or the two opposition no, or by man and refi. Not just said, adia ne wo position na ne ho keka ne se me ba me ya die we na ma jimidin no Stevia na teko na afri ni patrim na ga yentiment na se yenya ye wo ye man ye hunu se kantamanto wo mu ka bo mu no eja to mu no ahyi ni nyinaa na yetimi tnasia ma fufuro sensi mene wo kasai fufuro so sign oh my god says aden oh my Ghana aden enti just because me tnasi na and then say before na British passport now wo kwa ya udisa wo tra application now and this biem and a card cry see enyisu biem ukona ukopotnasia ubi bia ewom enti adenti no my Ghana die eno ani see frey Ghana for eno ani see di nipa eno ani see tewo ade bia beba yetirimo no emwa wo man no
okay yo
enti mesre me die madesra sister fiane me denam wa yisu because minim se ha die wo kasa anya bibia president kurati because me no ma bi wo hono ma otie mesre die di kan ayi no containers no enti menyira eno die wo omfan tena ho se enti menyira ni etosum yenu kumase yesremu baby a ahye no munya botre na yenye ni ye preko emamo because wo mu say mu ni gidie wo empanimfo ni mu eye nokra ye mu jai ma wo mu a o mu fa ma mu biem nanso yɛsrɛ otumfoɔ sɛ wei deɛ ɔmfa ne nan mmerɛ mu na sɛ afia deɛ twa toɔ koraa yɛ efi no enti mesrɛ o baasɛm a meka anɔpa afa kyɛ me enti yɛntumi ɛnyɛ mmerɛ bi wɔ Ghana sɛ wo a wode bɔɔla bɛto fam biara no ɛte sɛ deɛ wakum nipa yɛntumi nyɛ saa
There
mmara
were law ho da 1910. 1910 abrofo no wo Ghana kro mo ye law be friend mosquito ordinance. E wo from 19 and na friend tankers law no. Tankers ye law.
Sister via aden.
Ye fa nya adwuma but ye law so.
Na efin pa dokoro ye say na no me say basketball boys no ko bie gata bi so a enipa te ho e ton aduane every day enipa ni hunu say efi wa brade Sylvia
na da babusa say assembly kro no so wo he basketball boys no mo ye adwuma assembly for na yo say nko mo ye omugi salary assemblies ni nyina feli yen enti na basketball boys na popular no nkra obi am o mo hwe volunteers na boa wo mo so mo ye adwuma assembly for ni nyina tete wo mada so assembly for no ayo amina wase ananada na onua misaka good evening
Why is that say?
Adum bachenti ozo.
Oh, the church for Mr. Pokuni, you makasa kama. Asama mokai, asama was the be amaka say. Kick back na easy for no, omoji this can watch no. Iga connection be no moye. Ghana for be nyina obi anim. What you say? What am kasa me ankasa mani im kasa be SEO. Sefia, kromo ye wo electricity companies be no kromo. Bebre opa o change normal be o mitama. Ese omode ma private sector na omode ma omo no omo yede gigi omu sika nse de na Mr. Okuka no ya anya ne sa pia untimi nkotwa de moka ufi se nti amanfo mo abia omo nwuma omo yemnyume emu de even nipa bakope o hweso watimi abia nwuma timi afa nipa more than 2000 a otu omoka enti ufi se nkede ama obi se ono nhwe so a nti kontimi gigi sika no na nti problem e won nyina ne se ese timi de ma private sector ba Ghana no ase ye koye nim ba ko ane abi achi empemiensa ntimi nkoye nim ye nka no kra nkyere ye ho ebenifo no mo nyina omu nyina nim obi ani wa wonim obi anim de akoso nyina me se abugina po no abekan wo se ono ani fi electricity kra wonom kra beti be 3 months emergency iska afi twa nkrofo ka enipa so adwuma ni ho enipa so go wa mo pa adwuma ye na uni bi se adwuma no ntimi nya so ade na so koji pay ezi ya nhwe anka e ka bemne ye so e ka ne bemne ye because some a private sector am farm agents for me say ye wasika for Ghana adwuma no oba koje ba so koje pe ye beka say an na bank aban adwuma na ye dia ma obi ba ye dia ma aban so aban adwuma so munye ni ye hwe owura kam dispatch adwuma wa bi ni hwe di no masi koso hwe inji fm omu nyina hwe normal omu nyuma kwasitu omu nyina hwe normal omu ye no omu ade ya wo aso hwe de ma say koso ma fa nkrofo mo che mo mtime de etutu omuka na abadwuma mo be ya e wo man de no obi apeso be niye ye ni nko a sister fia areho but on Ghana ya be kasa be kan say ya won say ndc ko ba ya omo me GoldBod no ho anyina entoma no afoforo no ne CocoBod ya yetimi ya CocoBod timi ton disika oji dollars ne beto cocoa no ba oto wie so na wasa aboka busa ho sa adentra bibi na high na say dey na high come what change your way nyina private ayo e say contract be 6 years 5 years we are near renew now change your way nyina basis nyina sa na tie enti nipa no be me na ni akon atwenya hu say ko be fa so be gigi sika na we dey abadwuma me say basis ya nanse ba omi akwa ba enkosi aga aloloyi the same thing president Kofo dey akofa the same thing but chroma transport is one of the year Britain ha ade abom kese pa air transport opa buso bia because me dey titiri bia wa train suntimi nwia bus suntimi nwia eno chroma ade amom sika pa kese pa chroma air transport
Ghana dey timi awia bus ombe wia na say achingwo bi omako wia bi omo sa sheka no kra
Zida bia mami nchechiro mu system ne ya adwuma untimi nwia because the food train net went to ya utu penalty of 100 pounds and san was to ya usika usatua so went men to ya the better record so enti nya de obi be na adwo so bia because we ko adwuma I didn't say ko wia bus I didn't tell you train. Who go I didn't tell you Holland, and no mess see a man for Bagana for Domba, air tram and a man for you. I also be a Holland of a catcher. Holland, so one quiet bonnet, let's say 1 year, you want me tram 1 year bassa. See about you have a difficult. And I be a young girl for 1 year and you maybe. Say yes, I buy a 10 shoulder. So what I say, and system near Duma, only I didn't crowd with himself because any of your money ye pay so ya pa kwai. Me say ye can water was the same thing. Water for so criminals from go on almost kick back almost question is how. And electricity in Guao. Is that you say about Yabagana who said Ghana City? And no man ye home. And a contract ye Casensa contract the contract and Sunny and penny for them could kick back actually. And the contract or can open a go maybe or reading ye because sad the same thing me you call Spain a quarter dime any other day. Female key, no female because we need the Casaron Tias yet. And once female key, who female we are, that means what you say. And to book out, and to talk a damn Gana for most Spain, taking a tour in the Holland in Spain. What you say? Because women for Swift also, because on kind chain no man say, and to say, oh, yes, I know a lawyer, not their man. But once I want you Saudi pensions was signed a coding. Number for Chinoma discount. And the best Ghana for say, and penny for contract be almost saying, almost moment in coffin, because I didn't hear there. Mina madi no, and I also baby too. Messi say na me pe. Usun timi amanesha ho. And the boss have be ya boy in ke ko toss am machines ni me ke to go do so enye oil crowd. Ghana ni my ya guy ya one what be oil so the boy. Onye Ghana ni. Onye Ghana ni. I didn't Ghana mine or man na kasent me baby. Yon ko fo decide my mom to mo ya. On betima ye. But I have born a baby and penny for last describe the man, young farmer. Sister, if your best penny for say, a do baby, what's the kind of mubugono? And yes, be a papa no mumpo, but I jump bonny witchly. And if papa could be able to Kakasi bin where we are, Sika body, no, sister, Ghana Sika body, billions, I am to show.
I know, right? I know. Mamina asked him, Zaka. Nana asked him, yeah. I am Shishampa. Madam Makacham containers in the area will be area. There is no way, container back who crab a pure pot. A nipper crab before a pure pot. Now, what for gate, bed, your electronic gate with gas near the police for national security. Just a nipper, a good officials, a good pot. No, there is no way in Gofon area. And this is not an ECG issue. A port for Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority, GPHA, and a MPS for they have to answer to the people where are the containers in Gofon area. And to me, mother is missing 1,300 ECG. No, govern area. Well, it is never possible. So when you never miss it, every port one of that. It's a branch way to message or the other from when are you going to interview our current agri minister? Because unemployment in the agriculture sector. And also, I have questions for him. Okay, we'll work on that one to hear you. Also, what happened to the gold for dollars? No. Found in containers, but your Konako Busa Ghana, they are saying, that's why I'm catching up. I said, don't rush in near maybe engineer Della. Also, I'm beginning to like your show. Well, also stop the dam. E-levy is not scrubbed until Mahama is scrubbed. Parliament is an institution on its own. It's a different arm of government. The Mahama and they say sign. And mind you, your Mahama policy, so be E-levy if you want to. Signing is only like formality. And another question also, containers now have been stolen to pay political finances. We don't care. Yen Ghana for the I was here to me say containers be a free port and be for due process. Because when I order car fia crack of a porter, they be here one. There's no reason why we allow these containers to just go. Some appear say Ghana there, fear Ghana. Ghana and excavators to me and a container there. Yes, I know me not here. George Faro's GoldBod no is the same as gold for oil. No, if you are correct, the guy. Well, I'm correcting. These are two different government policies. Gold for oil, no, a different government policy for MPP. GoldBod, yeah, NDC policy. You know, you can make your own assumptions if you want. Perkins Jordan, so here from Germany. I'm say crucial. The minimum. It's here that says I will join here now. Program. Thank you so much. Asante say, if you are galam say no the issue pa NDC the campaign, but they say but we expect them to deal with the galam say issues. Osaje for say friends so blue water gas for no more demand so mbekwa check be confront galam say for because and omu to me confront you be a name so mbehwe say monitor water bodies. Now say monitoring of water bodies. They say the drone cry a bit monitor. And then the anyama be on my wasting resources. So you can use drone to police everything. Oko Germany, the one thing I call Germany, they helped us with even crime, from the drones and a security ha. Oscar man for say if your containers in the convoy we are the call foreign country, makoton da. And only I want cotton da. You're agree about Pacho. Good evening, you.
Fine, Mr. Fiampacho, I want to say,
Adumara company.
Fine, who's Adamani Aji?
Yes, that's it. So.
Yadasi Pani, Jumapa, we Yamakana. Yeah, and you may say, container no the person Mikabi. Me name under which government as I contain an free harbor.
Well, let me see. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I got resources, but let me check. But can I say no? I'm checking.
Okay, my question is, harbor authority no, CEO our the harbor no. Oh yeah, friend said, Bonibia cost for harbor. He's the person to be blamed. He or she is the person to be blamed because say the Ajuma show you manage to see say or minor mocker right into sir containers 1,000 and you one and you even one crowd
1,300 and something. 1,300 and something. And yeah,
yeah sir and you one he still need to be account for baby identify a piano and say omu say see you no or managers or harbor people in our operation are almost and look every single container vehicle out. Say yellow dugush fresh people be when they go different country. Satellites or hold me actually says our containers and if I had a call. I think say I buy what you know so to me investigate this idea. Every will be a sign your money and I find no way you do. So okay. Number 2. Metese no obi ka Ghana say ye fini ade ye ntumi anye ho bribi. Me hu say Ghana no it looks say ye loneliness so obi am pese obedi mraso because obi ye boni na ye chinese see ya or offer obeko police station me bagana ma me de car ama minua ketwa a de taxi ye ko mba pay ye ba na car ni benya accident no you know what nipo de car ni boy ye kan mu nyame nkonko ku minua no makonta ne me sister e wo car di mu ebuakwa police station yeah ebuakwa police station it came to a point say ye dey asam no court nipo de kan bo me car ni taxi driver no nia the owner no GPRTU penyini. And the police inspector now work police station no. How to deal with this case? He said your person will be at some guma contact. Whereby your police no go to swat any by any train say ni pass mercy at the cannibal we modi for no. Police ni na ye. Why you some say later me say that for lawyer. Me person me boni dey wa. What is ka di kwa nse munu kwa court. Ningina ngozi. So
if you are okay to
yeah,
a good case.
or mine a very good case. But I will say, you know America, Nipana, Omodi, Makuntana, Oya, you know, as I'm a crowd Kumasi, Ufrakra, Debiano Bogo Kumasi. Assembly, more than 18 times. Meaning, say, lawyer on the assembly can say, police in now, Okuta, Assembly, Sa, GPIT driver, no air back with the so as I'm not go baby. What you say? And to catch them say, well, you don't have to spend money on this. This is Ghana. And go baby.
So what only a man just say, oh.
There is insurance on the car. And comprehensive. But some say even capre. I have to go and pay over 6,000 to 7,000 Ghana cedis to repair that car back.
Okay.
What you say? Baby, they say, obedi a few good form. Say I am right to say the Odi Pania with you for the antenna hair. I hear that your mind, maybe can be say until pass a Ghana who say No, we have to give birth to a new Ghana. Now the one we queen, no the sister. You about you know. Abrojitra nyado. Abrojitra nyado. On what I did, me man. Me no ma one way musa snow to snow toy. I feel like going to Ghana. Me took one for close to 30 years. Me papa come to Ghana now. But what do you say? Say ukoko be a jumo ukoya danyo. Obi cry boni wa juma ni mo be a wabo kro no to police station. Somebody will be called. MPP will call say release this person. And police in this process were releasing her. What now on juma volunteers or reason. Until sa name sa order no be free on. O man no said yet any. So last one I mean fa entwa to the say galamsey. Uko mi kro ma ayo ko mi fi Jameson kwanta di aso area. Kwanta ko eso do mo jai say kro no. Sakalam say it doesn't enfa MPP enfa NDC ho. And that 3 days let me clear Adum news. No money idea just say e binu ma forest mo ma man for the tuo. Atete one no more. Ya say ya wote ho. Who are those people? Ghana hwe ya be reach a point be say and chakura very few years and days to come. What you fear near the tribe show him won't mean come because obia omo individually. Oh, yanene say ochina dia na me ma me wo no. E be wo mo yanja dwene ne. Dia ye ne ebedinda no nti yesra o man no me asema na no la me ka to no say President Mahama de bibi tu dwa say ono oba for legacy. So oba for legacy I say oye very prompt president say NDC ni eye bonia obeka MPP ni ye bonia obeka say oman jai sa favoritism no obi asem wo court yakoye free ho ni sa ne ma na any oman say ya na be because MPP prepare no aba you go for aye ti wo mu ni nyina so na say ya say the obi kan ye no yakoye ni ba ye be sa akoye ti be nan na enya sa no oman no ye pe no obi ka tell and say America your market say men fan compare Ghana sister brother your casa Holland bu say Holland omo population yes and your population ya dey tell man but ya di nimdie any nyansa any kroye any pepper ya dey tell o man ya di ayelolo mawo na say okotutu hu pass ne ton na obe catch government ne say one san ko pass for friend what are you doing
Yeah.
So gas na woman in petrol no I got too many people from now over the government and the petrol go what are you saying?
No but mama ma information no report no mo say omo containers no omo investigative committee so omo hwehwe containers there but minister ne say he was alerted to it on January 30th. Which means and son NDC for Eba power.
Yeah.
Because say he became aware of the report say containers na Irano January 30th. Say it must have been missing before January 30th. No. But committee the penny down your friend Professor Innocent Senya Akwa, chairman of the investigative committee now. Omu hwehwem no. Omu hwehwem ni ECG force say 1,003 nkwa. Earlier, no more 2,491 containers. Cables, electric equipment. But later no who said say 1,134, which means 1,300 and a higher. It is not or say chairman not to say they are investigating even into ECG portfolio because to me into 10 airs, but Obama confirm say yes. They cannot find it. You find the containers in the harbor. Into which means and Sana January, but a new government number. So that means it must have been missing under NPP. I not say investigation was launched after the minister visited the port. Into January, the minister no call port or call no. And no more bona man containers no cry ayera. And I say, hey, then a containers no ayera. To almost estimated no. A car. About 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
Into the investigative committee to find out how it got missing. And Kenny or send a message obi busa sa adentina obusa say that hwan aban so na minim say Kenny I'm in person may use foul language but I don't know sometimes say IQ na low say there obi a journalist no be busa question me to me I need say me bo Muslim I need to check the facts na me read ya chere no so what you say enti say me ba na say I'm checking the facts before or say me ma glossy over it mo ma dwen wo from IQ no nye enti openi no this is the report investigative committee no at the bar as of this morning.
Okay, I'm saying now me come down kwama ko na me can some last one I'm coming. Now me can some last one be to say sir your friend is say Ghana
But your camera said the man na kind of quickly na.
Okay. Ghana judicial system no ye promote your Mahama be one way because sir o might be an otakri judicial system now what tackle o man ye di e ba sa e di fear Emma judicial no muntu men kan okre enso so e wo eti yesra omo pa Ghana omo we sa de ma ne ye fama ye na bio pa so no Mr. Opoku na one ne kasa no wo kan bibi say GC hono no nipa bi no hono mo a omo mpese ye be ma private sector because omo wo omo yi bi omo ye no why is that asa because asa na betina na eme ya if they know say bibi say akoswa why the government cannot do it no mama ya bre
Well, and yet South Ghana public sector na say enye better sa ban bia ba sa nkrofo no ombetumi you aban agufo yes yeah omonye there are people in the public sector and Mr. Poku ka omo ho no mu didi enti wo ya na yes who change my private sector ba omo so omo start a lobby ya just undermine your government
when Japan can say Ghanaians are bomb bad so yeah it yes omo nyo man yo no yakoma da man so yes ra won
yo yes ya that's it so mama good evening akwaba.
Good evening, Steph here. Okay, all right. First of all, no, as I recommend Mr. Safa Poku, as a why blunt and why when UTN submissions in why more patriotic as why partisan in his submissions in because Koye be a different person coming from a political party, obviously, or beka something a be favor in the political party than be the other political party I own, but it looks like he was blunt and harnessed with issues, especially with the ECG matters and even with Galamsey Susano. He was just honest, and I'm quite surprised. And I say, your Fakwanya way so commending or Agyapa. First of all, with Temahabo issue, I say we need to find out say a day how many containers leave the port. I think that's what we have to check first of all. Say you say, oh, this X amount of containers leave the port every day. Say be a day 500 containers and 1,000 containers, and obviously it might be say in the space of months, weeks, and days are a clear containers because I don't think say one day container like 1,003 a bit mere free portals are without any alarm being raised. Suspiciously, it will be like for some consecutive time and because it looks like a cartel. And I think that the government has a duty say investigations and finding out that are involved near punishing. And the forms of punishment, sometimes, my name, in some ways, you didn't call court. We need to name and shame them. Will be who publicize, be who's own for way behind. And to say, even with politicians and issues bar, your face is publicized, your address is publicized, and people get to know where you are coming from. And not quite punitive enough. You understand? And with the container issue, it needs to be quick and let the public know, so that it builds the public confidence. And next time I feel within 1 month, 2 months, it won't build the public confidence. Because I do it, who can be at the excavators in it was just mind-boggling. Say then a machine and your phones. It's not a mobile phone that you can put in your pocket. And as they be a near drooping our fire now their short pocket. The thing is so big and visible enough. Say, move here. It will take you hours to move from point A to point B. Into her suspiciously, I don't know how my chena. Me sure said they did an audit. After auditing, no more realize 1,003 containers is not. To me, I think
Yes, there be minister no call port or catch no. And some no more audit no.
say answer
So
no be who. If you me sure answer no be who no. They did an audit before because me sure
maybe
someone
internally and they are trying to
exactly they
keep it
did an
under wraps. Yeah, it's possible.
internal auditing because you look at how the quantum is now. I don't think they can flash it out within a day or within a week because 1,003 is not easy. Even 100 containers a movie a day no crano. Any joke, and even 200 containers a movie a day. I just wanted to find out say how many containers leave Tema Harbor in a day.
The Mahama, there are a
just
lot
doing
of
that
containers
research.
live in a day because your port, your different sectors, your
Different,
terminal
okay.
3, your
Yeah,
terminal 2,
yeah.
and your terminal 1.
Mhm.
And some your reefer side.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
I know refrigerated containers. And there are a lot of containers leave the
Containers,
port.
they leave them. Okay. Yeah, unless the investigations, after investigation, you know how the thing, were able to vanish because any is the same paper could be it's a cartel.
It's a cartel. It is a
Exactly,
cartel.
it's a cartel.
It's a whole mafia group. No more
I'm
we are
telling
there,
you,
no.
I'm telling you, they have to be named and shamed. That's it. Publicized and punished. Oh, they say Ghana no, punitive measures and yana is always relegated to the poor. Obi akwa kuria phone, obi akwa kuria ye, wakuria banchi, obi ne yako, ni achina to ni a publish your paper. But as to white collar crime, we can't be no. Yeah, as a the process of adjudicating, I think nipa hope crying mubium. Oh, indeed, I think the new government has to do something about it. As in President Mahama, that's why I've always been advocating for the speedy trial, even with regards to the corruption in government. There should be a speedy trial, a specialized court for it, which is so much important. And if you have me, about Galamsey, I think me the one me who no. The way I econo there is easier for terrorists are move free nearby countries and our rebels are move free nearby countries, easy for them to penetrate and be at this Galamsey site. A woman's one more year Galamsey, but you might not know the
Oh,
intent.
Matista Minya Bema Bako Crackers, Cameroonians. They've had information that Cameroonians in be a room or more yet, Galamsey.
It's highly possible because of the nature. When it's money, as high as smart. These rebels and they are smart. You might think that they are doing Galamsey, but no more influence boys, Oh, the other time, when was it? Was Saturday that I was listening to Joy News? Was it Joy News? No, something. And I think one of the panel like I said, right now, Galamsey is a new cocaine in Ghana. I say a cradat opium may say, "Oh, don't remove ya intimi like the returns and are so big to the extent say, "Unya do who rema ye or then just ye kum." We need to fight. We have the military. Fortunate enough, our military are at the barracks, not doing anything. If I should put it literally, they are not doing anything. Yes, I'm more fighting. See, I'm fighting. In the next 5 to 10 years, Oma say in nature. I feel no more than rebels on us. They can take hostage of a area. These guys from the Francophone country, Burkina, Benin, these rebels will come there and influence our own people. Now I think they will come and fight against us. Until the earlier we deal with it, the better.
The better.
It shouldn't be politicized. You're politicizing it there. It goes at our own risk. Our nature is being destroyed. Even with the Chinese, it's obvious that the Chinese also have an agenda because it tells you so almost be degree and because they are not going to live here. By entry man they believe our foods are going, our water bodies are going, and our land.
It's going to.
Exactly. So our politicians have to man up. Yes, sir, President Mahama. Like, I'm so much surprised that our people think about their livelihoods more than security. When I say security is expensive and our livelihood, so fine, you are getting money. But when you're scanning now we are only good security and for so ben also. The money that you're looking for, you are going to use it to buy food. Yes, you are going to use the money to buy food, to buy water and security. Now security is kind of open the better and amount for so twice also after ukru. What's the sense in it?
Yeah.
So we should
Very
we should think
valid
about
point.
our security more than our livelihoods. Can I in your frame? And any packet to episode na galamsey and a population of 30 million, 35 million. Obehemne mu 1% penna into galamsey. Oh, but effect and go will affect all
Beyond
the population. That's the most saddest thing about it. All right.
My mama now I Amo Hegasi, I agree with you, pa. He says so. People of Ghana, no, we are living in complete danger. Over Jai, my mom. Good evening, Akwaba.
Good evening, Fia. It's here for you now.
No, my dear.
I saw no mekan galam say dear. No, I mean, in habo containers now. Me more dear, if you habo containers, no. First of all, no. I don't want to label on any government. Say your NPP, say your NDC. Omunina ewa bam. Okay, according to NDC, the minister, they said he only realized it last January, by 30th January. Obabamu January 7th. We are part of it. MPP, a part of it. Over 1,000 containers now, you're right. That's a whole Ghana harbor. You may be a fire. We shouldn't play blame game here. This is national crisis. I say, yeah, Kono as Ghana first. And Ghana Agyapa dear Naira. It is me blame say whether it's MPP or NDC. And if you media me opinion, I think say I didn't cry Ghana. Omo the besi harbor no ma ship be submarine ship we have a fire actually no they cover anajo. And
anything is possible.
Anything can happen. Yeah. Because over 1,000 containers raw more. And if I no drive with the fire. If I Flao, if I Burkina, and as if I Cote d'Ivoire. Don't we have custom officers over 1,000 containers? Just one no. But what I say, warehouse ben you be packing 40 fitter containers, makuma 1,000 and change. 1,003 agua itinipa da sani bia timi hu etimi imagine mu pa de pe ma me kwame intelligence. I think say they reverse it right on at the harbor and Ghana. Omo be presented like so ya de aba enio ade achi ya pa ya chemu mienu half come back. They said almost your investigation and they need a international searchlight. Maybe a number so much because I am real mining. Sana mimi uno.
Okay.
If you yanko galam say asem so. One say koyogo kwa be kasa pa ma, to be honest, this is how I do my politics. Don't be biased. Ne face if I ne kano kre no asam na akano you obu abam. I collaborate here to us, Papa. I like the submission. One man partisan. It comes to Galamsey Okan, no cre umbi Okai. How about them Okai? One blame game. Electricity somewhere cost for Ghana. One blame. What say do baby crown on TSC? He was hoping say, "Oh, baby, baby, shemu ye na yehu baby asemno ni fiba free say yena abua Ghana man." This is how you do politics. And that's how be anyone wants it. And that's how you do it. And if I may born mummy and union about Dr. Usuno. Now may come as some kakran. I'm saying last week, Rebecca, kakra with them debate Trump. A man for Belamba stay in and a Jerry Buana, Sisiko Benya. Says, yes, he can announce the Abram Ghana. And I say, I fed the woman who sent Ukraine can say PP. Oh, Ghana send by young to a boss, send a back cannon, a back for because penny pana semitino. Ye maso pa na odi etukwan na odi akodu. But let me tell you, nyami nyankopon odi kanede Japan echi no. Sa nyame no me pese bi hia sa nyame ni bi. Because oye nyami no kwafo a oni tro. Papa no nyami nyankopon no ebo no ho ban. I really want to meet that God. Asem bia obede bia da bia odi nkunim. Say 18 million wenfa.
On I say no there you go a process court my order it takes a process and can I this kind
process be free baby maybe
and I also can't say my also offer ya nya but me say there's a process Already,
Yo, what am I?
lawyers are filing remittitor. Until I was a court ruling on remittitor no grants.
I fear, oh, dear, but I told you I am on a danta.
Aye, 2 days.
We cheer to your food.
That's you. Over there now, I see baby. Mr. William Opoku, Mr. Over Kasa, but time now, about 10. Into Yampa, where next week Monday. Why? Mr. I remember priority. Why? Into next week Monday, Yampa. Into Yampa said, I'm Obia and to me joining here or a Jasu you made so. And Yakupon had my best share you. But Tian said, there's no way our containers by our ports are. These containers issue need a stealing. It's a clear case of stealing. And over law, no Ghana Criminal Act, the definition of stealing, no say, over idea free point A to point B is stealing where we are. Into what we are. This is not missing containers. It's a matter of theft. It's a broad daylight stealing, robbery, theft. And uncle for we are containers. No, into yes, will be and containers be they must come up. Wherever the containers are, somebody must cough up the containers and explain to us how the containers change positions. Where the heads must roll. This one part we will not accept any cock and bull story. Heads must roll. And yeah, a simple issue, sir. And you know, my name is saying I'm to be joining on Jasu you made a family vim lady. Next week, Ebeshia, Jasu you made a BMT. Good night. Thank you. Good night.